Hey everybody, welcome back to X's for Show, your premier media response show. You can check the show out at X's for Show. Clearly I did an okay job with this X-Men the Animated Series jazz arrangement. We're all bouncing and grooving. As for me, you can check me out at Nico Action, that's Nicoaction, and in case I ate it, the show is at X's for Show on all your socials.
You can find me at TK Elemental.
And you can find me at Kev O'Reilly. That's KEVOREALLY. And why are we here today, gents?
Animation!
Oh, it's animation. Domination.
And you know what? Like, I actually want to say for a second that is actually like Sunday nights with animation. That's like it's a thing. I mean, for me, it was Sunday nights with the Desperate Housewives. But like Sunday night animation is a thing for people. And so it's sort of cool that we're trying to counter program against The Simpsons. From what I understand, our ratings are roughly the same.
I'm trying to remember if it was Friday or Saturday night that used to be the really good Adult Swim night when we were in college that I would come home drunk to every weekend. And it was always
Friday.
It was always Inuyasha, Blue Gender. I mean, they had like the regular Adult Swim stuff, but then they had really good anime. And that was where I got actually a lot of my anime sensibilities.
I love it. I cut my teeth on Silica Toons, and anyone who knows me knows that like my dream is to do the wacky races of as many IPs as I can possibly get my hands on, right? But I want to start things off with our big old question, which is what like cartoon world, maybe preferably one of the ones we're covering tonight, but hey, weirders happened. What cartoon world would you want to live in? And I'm happy to get the ball rolling. It can be a little difficult to pick a favorite cartoon universe when there are so many to pick from. So I'm going to put myself squarely in the Lower Decks universe, because if I've got to pick one, it's that or the Page Master, right? Like I want to be Macaulay Culkin just going book to book, but I felt like that's getting a little too, I am Grant Morrison, I am my own metaverse. So gents, tell me, what's your book? Or cartoon? Oh, what's your cartoon?
I'm going to take inspiration from tonight's theme music, and I want to, as always, want to be in the X-Men, want to be an X-Man. That's my world.
You took my Lower Decks. I was going to say that one.
I wasn't also going to say Lower Decks, because I know all three of us want
brains.
Lower Decks.
And, this week is the premiere, so it's very much in our brains this week, and we're very excited to be covering the new season soon. We're going to be covering Archer a little bit, touching on that a little bit in this episode, and I do love Archer. That's a great one. But I think I'm going to go with my classic Gargoyles, just for the nostalgia. I wore my Gargoyle shirt when we did our Lost Media episode on Friday, and that's a great one. Plus magic, always a good thing.
Yeah, and that's the thing about a cartoon universe, right? Now, like, I do want to say that one of the things that makes animation such an interesting thing to talk about is that for so long, animation allowed TV shows to do things that they otherwise couldn't do. And then TV shows mostly kind of caught up. I'm not saying that our big note of the day, the solar opposites, exactly would thrive in live action. That would not be the cleanest look I've ever seen. But the big thing that I take away from the changes in animation is I think that modern live action television really just heavily borrows from animation at this point in so many ways. I don't think you can really say that It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia is a sitcom anymore. It's kind of an animated series with people that get younger looking, except Glenn Howerton, who has decided to age like a normal human being, just to remind us that the show is in fact not animated.
They're a funny mix. Like, I mean, it's really Rob McElhenney is the one who's making things insane. Like, Caitlin Olsen is aging like every woman who has to be in Hollywood, which is you have to continually fight any sign of aging and be as hot as humanly possible at all times. That's a horrible double standard, but also, man, you must feel fucking great when you conquer death like that. Meanwhile, Charlie Day is just like a boy forever. Like, that's why he's so funny. And that's just like something that happens to people. Like, I am somebody that's going to look boyish when I'm 50, and it's going to be embarrassing, and that's fine.
No.
Rob McElhenney is the one who's really completely throwing off the fucking curve, because it turns out that he can just do whatever he wants with his body, and it just happens. If he decides he wants to be the most shredded, jacked man alive, he's there. If he decides he just wants to be a gorgeous tubbo, that's in the mix too. He just does whatever he wants. And if he decides,
doesn't that even prove the cartoonishness of it all?
yes, in its own way, it really does.
And then he's got gay moms like a cartoon. So, because we all know that cartoons love diversity.
Then he's got
gay moms.
Max Mom, who is
a
the
human
most amazing
cigarette.
actor in the world.
The gay moms on Spy Racers. We
Gay
do
moms
know
on
gay
Spy
moms on
Racers.
cartoons. Yeah.
Oh, we love us some cartoons.
And Terry and Corvo are kind of gay moms.
Yeah. Okay.
I love it. Well, you know what? That brings us to our first real program of the night. I am stupid excited to talk about Solar Opposites. I put off watching this because I don't like Rick and Morty. It's okay. It's not bad. I don't dislike it, right? Like when you say I don't like something, everyone's automatically like, oh, if this is a scale of 0 to 100, where 50 is completely no opinion, I don't like it. Oh, then it's a 10. It's a 10. He's at a 10. No. I don't like it. I don't have a real opinion. It's like, it's not ambivalence. It's indifference. I think funny is funny, but I think nihilistic, just to prove to your audience that you can mess with their heads in cartoons, didn't work with me with BoJack. And it didn't do a whole lot more for me with Rick and Morty. So I really put off Solar Opposites. And then they went ahead and cast my husband, Dan Stevens, as Corvo. And I was like, how do you cast him as the lead actor? Oh, hey, Dan. Oh, God. And they cast him as the lead actor. And it had to be explained to me that Justin Roiland found himself embroiled in some drama. And, they both shook their head frustrated. And so I was willing to give it a try. And we watched seasons 1 through 3 in 3 days.
This is going to be a tough one to discuss because I think I really do not want to spend a long time talking about Justin Roiland and the world that Justin Roiland absolutely helped to co-found. And that can't be discounted. And for some people, like right off the bat, that's a deal breaker. If a really bad guy is the seed to a project, I will not be eating the fruit from that tree. And if that's how you feel, I totally get that. There are projects that I feel that way about and will be not getting along for. When both of these shows started, we did not know this stuff yet. Although I'm going to be 100% honest, I basically was like, that guy's going to turn out to be a scumbag.
Yeah.
You could kind of see
there
it.
There were signs.
There were absolutely signs. There were so many signs. But Dan Harmon is also a scumbag. But, I feel like he's
a different kind of scumbag.
And on the scumbag Kinsey scale, he's like a 2.5, like a significant chunk into scumbaggery, but also is doing work and is acknowledging
Apologizing
stuff.
a lot. Should more, but
probably should more. But it's a tough thing when white men get together and think they can do something. Unfortunately, the world often tells them yes. And maybe sometimes it shouldn't. But I love Dan Harmon's writing. I have since Community. Without Community, we wouldn't have the Avengers movies. We wouldn't have the Russo brothers. So, Community gave us a lot. And I think he's a brilliant writer. And one of the things that in doing research for this and just trying to figure out how to kind of look at everything with the Justin Roiland of it all, it really does seem like while Justin Roiland was a huge founder of all this stuff, it really became Dan Harmon's show to run and to take really seriously because he saw this as, a
this
business.
is Rick and Morty.
Well, I'm talking about both of them. It started with Rick and Morty, but, Justin Roiland helped start Solar Opposites too.
But then that was Mike.
And now this is Roiland with Mike McMahon.
Yeah.
From Lower Decks.
Yeah.
And I feel like you can even, I'm so glad that I got into Lower Decks as well when I did, and especially before season 4 of this dropped. so I could kind of get a better sense of what Mike is like on his own. And so I can see the places where, yeah, I'm sure Justin was also hugely influential, but like it made me aware that Mike can do a sci-fi show by himself, can do it in a way that is a lot more palatable, especially without Justin's influence. And yeah, I'm really enjoying a lot of what I've seen from season 4 with a lot less involvement from Justin.
Now, so my whole thing is Dan Stevens, I'm there, but I didn't really understand what like a modern recasting was like. In so many ways, the modern recasting is such a footnote. It is just a little frustrating because the idea that you can go from Lacey Chabert, Lacey
Chabert
to Mila Kunis on Family Guy. Yeah, that's kind of easy to do. The attention that was drawn to recasting Apu was certainly not enough on The Simpsons, but I'm glad they went back and, recast. Wish they would re-record, but we'll see what happens. And for me, the big question becomes, when you can't see the actor, does it matter to many audience members? To the average audience member, do they cognizantly recognize the recasting? And then if we can make the argument that even though that is an unfair simplification of the situation, that perhaps the average audience member doesn't catch the recast, how brave of Solar Opposites to be like, and this is what he will sound like in flashbacks too, because they were chronotons.
I thought that was a funny line. I don't know if I would go quite to brave, but I did think that was a very funny line. This was my big...
They are gay aliens. It's brave.
Okay, very fair.
It's always brave.
This was my big thing going into season 4. Like, is this going to work? I think the show really slowed down for me in the 3rd season.
Mm-hmm.
I've got some
That was a long day for me.
I've got some writing questions. I've got some questions about where they really want to go with this. Is this something they want to be a Simpsons Family Guy, that goes on for 20 seasons of Bob's Burgers and we just can't believe they're still doing it? Or, do they feel like this has a solid end time? But either way, the big question for me was, is this thing with Dan Stevens going to work? I thought the start of the season voice changer joke was perfect. You have a lot of options. You don't acknowledge it at all. And usually if you're doing that, you're doing a mimic. You're doing somebody who's just pretending to do the voice. And you might even just do like a quick, like, you've got a frog in your throat, and then not get back to it. You do it like 5 episodes or even like a whole episode. You do a big thing where it's a voice change and like it's a major shift and it maybe kind of signals a tone shift for the show. They found a nice in between. It's just the opening tag that is the explanation for why the voice is different, and then we just change it up. For me, the problem is I don't know that Dan Stevens' voice acquits itself to Corbo's character in a way that's working for me this season. I just don't know. They really wrote to Roiland's voice and the way that he stutters and...
Actually, that's why I suddenly like the show more.
Okay.
Because Justin Roiland gave what I honest to God just felt was like a very generic performance, and whether that's a reaction to Rick and Morty's success or not.
Yeah.
I felt like I was just getting, like, he was not giving me anything a YouTube impersonator of him couldn't give.
I agree.
And I hear that you're saying, the dialogue was written for him, but it made for a very stupid character.
I agree.
He was supposed to be, because the problem is that he is an alpha character. He actually is a very aggressive lead type character.
Yeah.
And this idea that he's very stuttery and stammering and very shy and bashful. Like, those are the episodes that in season 1, by the time I was at season 3, I was like, I hate this.
Yeah.
Those are the parts where he's so doesn't work for me.
Yeah.
I would rather think that he took some time to adjust to Earth, and this is who Corvo was meant to be, because what I was getting was so college. I was really looking forward to, I guess, the grad school of it, but it really didn't feel like something new. Whereas everything else about this show is challenging and exciting. You know, Kevo, when you brought this show to me, I was kind of like, no, I refuse. And you were like, no, it's Dan Stevens. And I was like, oh, all right. So now I will.
Now I have to.
You know, you've been championing this show for a while, and you, like TK, also felt like season 3 was a little much. Now, I'm a Corvo lover, Terry lover. Yummy fine. Jesse's amazing. I love The Wall, right? How do you feel about, you know, this program 4 years in? You know, you pandoed this motherfucker.
I did, yeah. This started at the beginning of Pando, I believe. I think it was March or May that the first season dropped. And I've been a fan since pretty much the beginning-ish. It's been a lot. Like you said, season 3 was a lot. I feel like the Wall stuff just started to get very dramatic and kind of, to speak like the show, if I can, up its own ass. And
these people go through religion so fast.
It was just exhausting, and I can't help wondering, you know, with the new direction the show has taken, if maybe that was even part of it, if there were other parties that were involved that were pushing in a direction that was a lot. It was a lot. So I'm glad you got into it when you did. I'm glad season 4 has turned out to be what it has.
So good.
Really, really has. You know, there's so many ways in which I am not in love with Dan Stevens' new performance. It is definitely different, but I do agree with Nico, where you feel that it's a little bit more assertive now. He shows more of Corvo's vulnerability over time. We finally just got you through the stock photo episode. That's one where he really shows a lot of Corvo's vulnerability. There's another Goobler episode coming up where I feel like there's another one. So once he starts to get that down a little bit better, I really like the more assertiveness. Because, yeah, it's the same way that everyone being a little bit too indifferent and mean to each other early on wasn't really working for me. I don't want Corvo being insecure any more than I want like Terry being a genuine asshole. And I feel like they've moved so much of the show in a different direction that is kind of more positive. It's funny, when we started, I was like, why aren't Terry and Corvo like all over each other that they're in season 1? That makes no sense to me. It's something that built up more over time.
And that's actually one of the things that kind of bothered me the most about the show early on, about Justin Roiland in particular. I don't like any of the Justin Roiland going, oh, you're fucking me in the ass so hard and I'm such a bottom bitch. That's not cute coming from a guy whose humor is kind of homophobic. It literally made the show hard for me to watch. I'm not saying that Dan Stevens is a hero for acting alongside the guy who played Gaston in Beauty and the Beast and not hate criming him. But I'm saying that if you're asking me between Dan Stevens and Justin Roiland, which one feels to me like they might have a stronger record of positivity on gay rights? I feel like Dan Stevens is just like a chiller dude to portray homosexuality.
Dan Stevens was in live-action Beauty and the Beast with LeFou, who was the most groundbreaking Disney character in all of space and time. So you watch yourself.
Yeah.
So my thing is, I agree with everything you guys are saying. Like, a big problem for the show for me throughout was that Corvo was not a great character. It was kind of just a Rick rehash. That really is Justin Roiland's. I don't want to say it's his one voice because he actually can do others, but it's his default voice. And there was nothing particularly great about the character. For me, I felt that I maybe would have rather what they did was like a multi-episode. It's not just that Corvo's voice changed, it's that Corvo changed. It's that this is now, because everything Dan Stevens brings to it is different. Like, even just the one of the funnier and like one of the few jokes that I actually thought was funny in the first few episodes, honestly, for Corvo was he can't stop saying AF. But that really felt like if you're writing and doing Justin Roiland's voice, he would just say AF. It sounds funny because of the British accent and so like that's why you write this other type of joke. But I don't know, like the personality for Corvo just changed entirely for me when Dan Stevens showed up. And I do think that's a good thing. I really do. I just felt like the writing for the show didn't really, so far has not gotten me there with feeling like the work was done I think they should, basically what I'm saying is I think they should have changed direction along with Dan Stevens. You know, the way season 3 ended, actually, with them all turning into trees and essentially being reborn, was like the perfect off-road to be like, when they fully got out of being trees, Corvo was just different. And, you know, he hasn't been the same since, because they're still pulling on that storyline. The whole thing when they start the season is that they're still trying to be normal.
If I just need to say one thing, though, and this is like, they put a title card on an episode that aired in 2021 that they couldn't help that a joke references Harry Potter because the script was written in 2009.
Yeah.
And while that's bullshit because they did an entire BTS segment, so clearly things can be updated after 2009,
right,
there is an extent to which you have to work with the animation.
Yeah.
The animation is done 2-3 years in advance for some of this, and they did not know they were going to have to recast Justin Roiland when they started breaking the animation on season 4.
Very fair.
That is, it's a little bit different when it's animated versus live action.
Yeah.
Even in that regard, which, you know, that's a huge part of this for me.
Sure.
Knowing that animation is such a process.
Sure.
I'm giving them a lot more of a buy than I give, to bring it up again, just poke fun at it on a Sunday, Desperate Housewives, for thinking they could just continuously recast one of Betty Applewhite's sons and no one would notice.
Very fair. Yeah, I mean, and ultimately, it's maybe not so much that I'm saying they should have done it differently, but that ultimately it doesn't quite work. They did the best with what they had, but it doesn't quite work. I do think it has the potential to be better. I just, so far, and I'm not done with the whole season yet, but so far I don't feel entirely like it is where it could be.
Kevin, how you vibing on season 4 of Solar Opposites?
You know, I don't want to give too much away if you haven't finished it, but I really like where pretty much everything from this season left off more than I liked where season 3 left off. Literally every story in season 3, whether it was the main story of the Solars having to get office jobs being pointedly depressing, The Wall was depressing, Silver Cops was depressing, but like every single ongoing story of this season, I felt left off in a place where I was a lot more like chill on it. And, you know, again, not to give too much away, but there is a very similar, it seems like, I was saying this to Nico, the first season ended on a fake cliffhanger where it was revealed as a dream before the episode even ended. The second episode had a lead-in cliffhanger to them being trees, but then that's resolved before the next episode. The third season has a cliffhanger that we get a little 2-episode arc out of, even. Season 4 ends on a similar dramatic, like surprise cliffhangery sort of note that I think we could get an arc out of. I wonder if the intention is to keep growing every year, and this will be like 4, maybe 5 episodes instead. I don't know. I think this one seems cooler than last season's, though, because that was something I was going to say about I don't know if I would have loved any kind of Corvo arc, because I didn't like the Office arc they ended up doing. It just felt, and I don't think it was because of the voice stuff, except that didn't help. That made it even more jarring, but I just felt like it was awkward. I'm sitting through it wondering, is this going to be the rest of the fucking season?
2 episodes, though.
It's hard to tell with these people sometimes, though, because Little Buddy was around forever. So I don't know. I don't know.
I hate Little Buddy more than I hate anything. Little Buddy
Really?
is like,
No. He hates
really,
Little Buddy.
that's not my thing. Little miniaturized creatures that are just little chaos goblins. No, pick it off.
Doesn't even make any sense.
That's
Nope.
so weird that you don't like that.
No, like
Oh,
definitely
but he
hate
does
it.
love the giant face on the wall that we don't address.
That's adorable. See,
You loved Corvo Train. You loved that.
Corvo Train is one of the highlighted. I know. Just I wish somebody would have called them Shining Time Station. So, I don't know. The other thing I want to address about this show is the humanity of it, and this actually is a really weird way to play this out. But because Solar Opposites wishes to be an expression of The Simpsons down to the layout of the home. So with Solar Opposites being an expression of The Simpsons, but incapable of functioning like The Simpsons does by virtue of its setup, it's created an opportunity to examine the same sorts of societal questions that The Simpsons examined in its earliest seasons with The Wall. But one of the things that The Wall requires that you accept is that these are the worst characters in the world.
Yeah.
You know, not even just The Wall characters who are all horrible, except Sherry and Hulk. What a name. But, you know, the real thing here is the Solar Opposites, the Solar Opposites, the family, as they exist, when...
Also, just real quick, that's the best joke in the show.
Oh, yeah.
That they are, that the calling them the Solar Opposites when that's not a thing at all remains, every time they do it, it's the Gene Parmesan of this show. I scream whenever they say, like, the Solar Opposites are doing this.
It's why the episode name is The Solar Opposites Are Still Great.
Right.
I also love how frequently they will interchange whether they use solar or opposites as the abbreviated form of their last name. Sometimes they are the solars, sometimes they are the opposites.
Yeah.
I just wish that when it's one of them, they would refer to themselves as singular. Like, well, I'm Jesse Opposite.
Yeah.
Like, you know, would just break.
I'm sure that's coming. So yeah, everybody is the worst character.
But the ability to explore it is, you know, really set against the surreality of The Wall, combined with the reality of what these characters are doing. Now, I could write an entire encyclopedia on the Green Lanterns, and I would maybe have a footnote. There was this short-lived one-episode comparison. It wasn't very good. You know, Silver Cops doesn't really do it for me. But, you know, end of the day, The Wall really represents one of the metaphors of this show. Humanity is actually hidden inside of everything, even these aliens. But again, it really requires that the aliens are the villains for The Wall to even exist, except where they killed Daft Punk, who were very clearly the chain smokers.
Daft Trunk.
They were just obviously the chain smokers,
yes.
but they couldn't make a chain smokers joke.
Yes.
But they were literally the chain smokers.
The guys under the helmets were the chain smokers, but the music was Daft Punk, and it was really funny. This song is lit.
Oh my God.
It's interesting because The Wall is almost not the worst thing about them. It just goes to show how much they are not human. And they are completely trying to cosplay an alien civilization's best approximation of what human is for a culture that could never understand it and could never be human. Doesn't share our values, doesn't share our morals, doesn't understand them, has no history with them, but is able to observe them and do their best to attempt to blend in. And the comedy is that they don't, but when they do something like The Wall, it feels less to me villainous and more like they just so absolutely do not understand. So of course, you know, to the people of The Wall and to us as observers, of course they're villains in that way that so many aliens that we, you know, encounter in fiction don't intend to do evil, and they're not being mean. They simply can't understand what humanity is. This is part of the humor for this comes for me from the fact that they are attempting so poorly to blend in on so many levels. And you see where the poor way that they're attempting to blend in results in stupid adventures like trying to round up the living hungry hippos. But then you
Turning
also see
Chris
that
Red Goobler's fiance into a rat, and then trying to round up a bunch of rats.
all the rats,
People
but
into
then
wine and then pouring them back out.
Yeah.
you also see that Yumulak just thinks this is how you deal with people.
Yumulak is every Fortnite player.
Exactly, but you know he's
Yeah.
this idiot alien cosplaying as a Fortnite character. So it's a weird thing. Like, I'm not trying to defend them and be like they're actually really good people. They're not, but they're not bad people in that way that like the Patty's Pub crew are just bad people.
Yeah.
So Patty's Pub are immoral, but the Solar Opposites are amoral.
They're incapable of understanding our morals. So yeah,
they're amoral.
yes.
They just lack them
Yeah.
completely. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So, you know, it's not that they're villainous. It's that they're incapable of being human. And through exploring their poor attempts, that's where both the humor comes from, but also we kind of understand what makes us human in that same way that, as you mentioned, like The Simpsons, it's always what we see in our own families in The Simpsons, what we experience, our own sibling relationships being like Bart and Lisa. This is almost always inevitably, even if you are like, yeah, my sister and I fight like that. No, you absolutely do not. You aren't doing, one's going to cover the other one with dick and the other one is going to kill the other one pranks at school. You are nothing like them. Your sibling relationship is nothing like theirs. That's okay, but, you know, yeah.
And something that I really, I really love and agree with everything that you're saying, and I even want to take it a step further and emphasize it with, when we watched this episode, I noticed the word Balakori, and I just hadn't really thought about it before the times that I'd watched it, and this time I decided to look it up, and learning what it is really underlined for me everything that you are saying. It is a type of seed dispersal, explosively dispersing seeds to plant fruit. And like when you watch the explosion of Schlorp and all of the ships going out, you really see it. And they are plants, they are aliens, they are not like we are. And you know, there's silly ways in which I think they give and take how smart these characters are. Like, what's a brain? What? No, but they can make time machines. Like, it's ridiculous sometimes. But in other ways, like, no, they really emphasize we're plants, we're not human. We have different biologies. We had a different type of morality and understanding of the world. And they do really underline it in so many ways. There's that line in the pilot where Corvo's making the joke, but it really is, we're aliens. Our ways are mysterious. We can't be measured by human standards. It's really true. They're not us.
And I mean, the entire thing is predicated on the fact that they're waiting to destroy the planet. Like, they're not us at all.
Yeah.
You know, their deaths are not like our deaths. And I do think, you know, that's one of those things that I feel like the very surface reading that happens with Dan Harmon's shows, especially these animated ones, like the idea that the whole point of it was that he wanted you to go to McDonald's and scream for Sichuan sauce when, you know, that's not the joke at all. It's kind of the same thing with Solar Opposites, where I feel like a lot of the very surface reading is like, oh, families are all screwed up. And it is, in fact, you know, of course they are, but this is not how we are all screwed up with our families. This is specifically ways in which we can never be screwed up.
Now, I feel like there's almost a metaphor in all of the antics of the pupa going through all of these convoluted, confusing things just to get candy or his Harry Potter whistle. It's like the opposite of Dan Harmon was trying to say something deep and emotional and meaningful to you people, and you just wanted a Harry Potter whistle.
Right. And I feel like the pupa is kind of becoming the stand-in for actual humanity, because he's starting at such a baseline and all he has around him is the actual Earth.
Well,
I get that.
I want to use this as a launch point to another show that kind of forces us to examine humanity without humanity really being directly involved. Since we're going to be taking a look at a bunch of different major cartoons and animated series, one that I do think is worth mentioning that, I don't think there could be a Solar Opposites without is Adventure Time. And Adventure Time is continuing on in its own weird fucking fashion with Fiona and Cake. And I remember when the first episode of Adventure Time that featured Fiona and Cake happened.
Were you guys full Adventure Time people?
Yeah, we were for a bit.
At time.
Okay. Did you get through the whole thing?
No, it just went on too long, and it started to be impossible to figure out when it was going to air, and then it would be.
And the continuity was weird. Yeah.
And it really. There was a period in time where every cartoon, it seemed like, existed only to emotionally test me.
Yeah.
That's it. It was just how much can you cry in a single episode of a cartoon? And I just reached a point where I couldn't keep doing it. And
I remember the episode that broke you. It was, and you even tried to keep going a little while after, but that one where Finn has those action figures and like he's their god, and if he moves a certain way, he can get them to follow his commands. And it was weird. I'm only half describing it right, but I'm even
I know what you're talking about.
So, and you were like, no, this is too weird. This is too weird even for me, and I love Twin Peaks. So,
I do think you're right that the Harmonverse shows really could not exist without this. This brought a level of this was kind of the bridge in terms of, and any kid could watch this when you were 5. It would be weird, you wouldn't understand it, but you could watch Adventure Time when you were 5. Nobody said fuck.
It was pretty colors and it was funny.
Yeah, and anything that was adult was either clean or innuendoed in such a way that a kid would never know. But there was a lot of innuendo, and there were a lot of adult themes that if you were an adult, you would see, and, it would make you cry. Like, I don't think that moment would make a kid cry. It makes an adult cry because of all of your experience. And then Rick and Morty, from that fertile ground, says adults watch animation. We literally can just make a show that is for adults and animated, and it will get good ratings. And when I say adults, I mean like people over 14, because that ultimately wound up being Rick and Morty's really big audience.
Other than the fact that the average watching age of The West Wing skewed above 50, I don't really know that there are too many shows anymore where like they don't just sort of say, "Oh, you're 14, you're an adult." You know what I mean? Like, that's why it's TV 14.
It's bar mitzvah logic for television. Yeah. You've become a man. You're watching.
Yeah. Kevo, you can keep watching anything you want, but like we stop watching stuff as a couple, and then it's like your show, not our show anymore. And it's the same thing for me. There's stuff that you're like, nah, this isn't for me, and I keep watching it, no problem. But Adventure Time was something we both jumped out of at the same time.
Kind of, yeah.
How do you feel about the one thing that you were like always, oh, this show, it's got strong women, but it could be more inclusive. How do you feel about Fiona and Cake?
I think it is really interesting to see the longevity of this franchise after the original series itself lasted for so long and got so weird and so interesting. I do find it fascinating, but again, it's hard to figure out where to start. It's hard to latch on to what's important. As I put up in one of the comments just now, I remember the original pilot for Adventure Time back when it was on YouTube, back when we were wee babies. And it was such a weird thing, but I thought it was so funny. And then it was another like 4 or 5 years before the cartoon show started. And weird, but funny and cute. And now here we are. And I don't know. I'm sort of waiting for someone to attempt a live action adaptation of this. Much like all of the animes that we're starting to see. One Piece that we'll be discussing.
It's going to be like Where the Wild Things Are, where they're going to do these really emotional, artful trailers, but the movie's going to have no substance.
Yeah, pretty much, probably. Or maybe not. who knows? Maybe we're learning from those too, and we'll be able to build better versions of those.
And, you know, from one long-running franchise that we vaguely have interest in, I think we're all kind of saying, yeah, Fiona and Cake. We're happy for it, but I don't think it's our thing.
Yeah.
A show that I know we're going to go back for at some point is definitely Archer. I've seen the first 8 seasons, maybe 9. Kevo, I think you've seen the first 12.
I would have to look at a list. I watched everything through the Coma seasons and then one more after that. So I think, yeah, I'm like 3 or so behind. But yeah, somewhere around 11 seasons I watched.
TK, I can't think of a character you would love more than Pam. So I have to assume that you have seen at least a fair amount of Archer.
Soupçon.
A soupçon.
For one, Cheryl.
Yeah.
That's a character.
Yeah,
I like.
good point.
That's a character I like more than Pam. 2, about the same as Kevo in terms of full watches. Sporadic since then. I did watch the first 2 episodes of this season.
How did you feel?
I hated it.
Oh my.
I think they should have ended. I think it's Jessica Walters added something so important.
Yes.
That it surprises me they did not attempt to get back with one of her contemporaries. Even like because I think she could do the voice work. Danger Zone. They don't have jokes like that anymore. That's the problem. That's why I didn't like it. I was gonna say is like Liza could have voiced.
Liza could have found the studio.
Yeah, like I know she's not entirely her best right now, but I believe she is lucid and active enough to do the voice work for a show like this. There are other people. I'm just thinking of like when I think of Jessica Walters like contemporaries, the first thing I think about is Lucille too, and that would have been a funny joke. It's not funny anymore, man. It's not doing the same joke doesn't work, and it seems like they are really invested in not doing different jokes. I love Lana being in Mallory's seat in terms of like
speaking of contemporaries, because I swear to God, I don't know how she looks like she's 27, but Aisha Tyler is actually older than Jessica Walters was.
Yeah, I would fully believe it. I mean, we're not going to get into the old idiom, but like, holy shit. I mean, she's the most beautiful woman on earth. It's insane. I love Lana in that seat. I just love the idea of like the black woman being at the center and being in control, but it's Archer. So I'm not necessarily looking to Archer to make bold statements about people of color and women. I'm just looking for them to not make bad ones.
And after 13 years,
that's what I'm saying, man.
The old white woman, literally, not even they chose to remove the character. The actor died, and that's why they literally is the only reason she got the promotion.
Damn you, Tambor!
Yeah, well, yeah.
It's unfortunate because his episodes were great too.
I'm sad to hear that because I was really looking forward to this concept of Aubergine being an agent and working alongside her parents. It's literally what I wanted since they introduced the concept of their child. And the coma, I wanted him to wake up and have her be older, and I wanted this. So hearing that you're finding it so disappointing, I'm sad to hear that. Especially because I wonder what their intention was. Were they looking to revitalize and let this be more than the last season? Or was this just meant to be their tag, their victory?
I would have done 4 TV movies. There are so many things I would have done. I don't know how everybody didn't see that year of Doctor Who movies and think we have options.
Oh my God, because those Doctor Who movies are barely good episodes in some cases. I don't know.
That's part of the problem. Yeah.
That was one of those examples of where like, and this is a thing. Archer had that. I'm sorry. Archer had that. Archer had 4 seasons of dream sequences. That's too much. They had that.
Right.
They had their year, but it was 4 years.
Right.
And the one thing that I think gets me is I think about Archer season 1, and like it was a very different, very stupid show. But I remember I had a crush, and not like a human being crush, because he's actually one of the dumbest people in the world. But my ex best buddy had a roommate who both him and his older sister were like my majorest crushes in high school. But he was like, you got to save Archer. Everybody I know, back when it was like, your name is on Facebook. That's how long ago I'm talking. He would post, you got to save Archer. You got to save Archer. And I remember TV shows on DVD, a website that I've mentioned a few times, was like, you guys got to save Archer. And I said to Kevo, we got to start watching this. And we went out and we bought the DVD set of season 1, and we caught up for season 2, I think, or season 3 we were caught up by. And there was stuff that's just so stupid I can't even stand it. Like Figgis needing a penis and smallening. The only funny thing there is the word in smallening is brilliantly funny. Then stuff gets weird. Like all of a sudden it goes from Pam is this unknown thing to, oh, well, obviously Pam's the freak. And like Cheryl's funny, but there is stuff that does start to be like deeply problematic portrayals of women, where there are not equally deeply problematic portrayals of men outside of how much men fuck is cool. And like that is occasionally where Archer lost the point for me.
Early Archer was of an era that is not anymore, and it is always hard when a show continues and the world evolves.
So hold on, I just need to say, Talir Agron, that you come to everything we cover with quotes prepared is quite literally the gay agenda. Season 2 is where it hit the stride for me, being from the South. My favorite joke from Swiss Miss episode is Germany, the Alabama of Europe.
Yeah. I mean, those early seasons just had so much humor. Jessica, the one for me that I say like only to my people, because it's only funny when you say it to your people, but put it back in the deck is anytime I'm with a Jewish person or a gay person and the struggle comes up, I always do put it back in the deck.
As soon as a white Latino says something to me about, and we exist too, and I'm okay. What?
Exactly.
Anytime I see someone being racist, but you're gonna power through it.
Yep. Talir, I just need to share that it's actually
you're among family,
medically the same.
Yeah.
Same girl.
Yeah, we're with you there.
Now,
so yeah, I mean, the early seasons, it's not just that they were funny, it's that they developed a humor, a style.
Sorry, I still wanted Kevo's drinks, and I was just telling him.
I thought you were telling me, because that's the one I like.
That's your fun face. So I didn't know what you were doing. Okay. Put it away.
They're not. It feels like they're no longer either. They made all the jokes, like they've got no more in the tank, or they're not able to utilize them in the same way.
It's like, I wonder how much by later seasons Cheers was still funny, or was it just you're laughing because you're watching Ted Danson and all those actors that you know? Is it still funny, or?
And yeah, the only thing that's funny about later Cheers for me is that America realized that alcoholism is sad, and why we laughed at the jokes changed. I'm serious. Watch a season 1 episode of Cheers and a season 11 episode of Cheers, where the laugh track falls into "I'm going to take another drink" moves, and it is depressing to realize that in 1980 we were all like, alcoholism's no big deal, and in 1991 we were like, alcoholism is destroying the middle of the country. It is the craziest thing about later Cheers. It's why it had to end.
And, at the time, we didn't have a ton of options. But
you had Dream On cable.
I mean, there were other things to watch, but, you had the whole thing was, 3 networks, maybe 4, programmed for the peak slots, and you were kind of watching one or the other. If Archer isn't good, everything that we're talking about today is an alternative that you can just watch and not stream Archer. It's not a matter of like 8 o'clock is when we're all going to be watching this or nothing. It is truly, I'm going to watch a little bit more to see if they've got something and it just took a minute. But ultimately, I will just not watch it. And
there's other adult animation at this point.
Yeah.
At the time that this started, you know, that sort of adult animation humor was not really as readily available.
Yep.
But now, yeah.
I mean, and they created it too. They created it before this with Frisky Dingo. Old Adult Swim stuff really was this niche adult animation thing that, again, like Fiona and Cake and Adventure Time, really helped bridge the gap to something as popular as Rick and Morty and Solar Opposites. They built the thing. I mean, you know, maybe they're tired. It's 13 seasons.
And that's allowed.
Exactly. Well, but ultimately, my thing is like, if somebody doesn't say, maybe we're done, I will say, maybe I'm done with you.
Then I'm going to say, maybe we're done and we need to move to American Dad.
Let's go.
All right. So I'm just trying to find a photo to prove that this creature exists and it's my best friend in the world. I have a dog. I have a partner and I have a dog with my partner and I love my dog. And I'm only bringing it up because if I didn't love this fucking dog so much and with all my heart, I don't know that I could have ever started watching American Dad. American Dad is not a show I would normally give time to, but here's my baby and my partner who the beautiful baby boy lives with. Oh, cool. Awesome. Time to show Bucky.
Just send the pictures to Kevo, Nico.
I was trying to do it, but my phone is being so stupid right now. So I've been sitting like this for 20 minutes.
I'm going to make a note in the group chat for Kevo to get some pictures of Bucky for such occasions.
I'll make a Bucky collage for us.
I'll get you ones of Judy and Amy too.
What a genius thing to do.
All right, Patrol. American Dad.
You know, when I stay with a hot older boyfriend, the problem is that the dog just is so loud. Oh my god, he's a 3-year-old pit bull. He's just the loudest fucking dog in the world. And so TV has to be on. The TV has to be on to drown him out. And it calms him down, it helps him sleep. And we do not agree on television at all. But somewhere between his desire to watch Jack Reacher at 2 a.m. and my love of Modern Family exists American Dad. And, you know, I don't think American Dad is the perfect show. I think it's made by a guy who has some pretty problematic strikes against him in his history. But what is American Dad? It's a really, truly less stupid Family Guy. Because Family Guy is pretty stupid. And American Dad at least has the courtesy to act like it's not talking down to you.
I think, you know, Family Guy, yes, I agree. Roger, Talia saying Roger, the greatest drag queen on animation, 100% correct. Roger is a phenomenal character.
Absolutely.
The thing about Family Guy is just The Simpsons done by somebody else, which is fine. There's room for more than one, and it had its own humor. American Dad is actually the better place for that production team style of humor to go. Family Guy should have ended season 4 or 5. I think that's generous. I think it could have never came back after that initial cancellation. But you know, they came back. That was kind of triumphant that they proved that their audience loved them so much.
And now Stewie's canonically gay.
We're at season 86. Stewie's canonically gay. We've maybe gone on a little long. I think season 5 when
Ryan's
they said
probably died twice now.
Exactly. Season 5 when they clearly showed like we can do this all day. We can keep animating. This is the better show for their style of family and their humor, and it's not just The Simpsons. It is a radically different family. Stan is in no way Homer Simpson. Steve is not Bart. Roger is nobody. Roger is this unique creature that is phenomenal. And there are a lot of misses season to season, but their hits hit so hard and are uniquely, I forget what the production house is called, but I'm just going to say are uniquely McFarlane.
Fuzzy Door?
Is that what it is?
Fuzzy Door did seasons 1 through 18, but 20th Century Television Animation has taken over for subsequent seasons.
Sure. I'm sure that has something to do with the or the Disney Fox situation. Either way, this is really Seth MacFarlane hit his stride producing animation with American Dad. That's my point.
He's an American dad.
New theme song.
What do you think about American Dad? This is one that we don't watch together, but no. I've seen hundreds of episodes of.
I was into it at first, and then I kind of fell off, and then it moved to TBS, and that was weird. I know. Is it still going?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
And it has like several seasons on its pickup.
That's crazy. I get where Family Guy is stupid, but it's the one that I know better, so it's the one that I tend to watch more if I watch anything. I like that it's so brainless. I feel like this one requires me to think a little bit more.
It does. It does.
Yeah.
Well, I just wanted to kind of make a note about this. Kind of represents the Family Guy Simpsons show that we're kind of not talking about tonight. We don't really go out of our way to talk about Survivor when we talk about Drag Race either. So thank you to the shows that were on 20 years that made the show that we like possible. But, American Dad is kind of our catch-all for that show.
Right.
Stan is crazy hot. And so is Scott Grimes. So Scott Grimes is indescribably sexy.
Hopefully we'll find opportunities to talk about the Orville, which is where he's from, as you were about to say. I apologize.
Do we have more Orville coming up?
Hopefully. The only thing we've gotten is Adrian Pilecki said that everybody's willing. They just haven't been asked yet, but that the option exists. So, well, iffy.
That's a Fox show, right? That was on Fox.
But yeah. It is no longer. It is now a Hulu exclusive.
Right. So, I would think Disney would want to fuck around with it a little bit just to poke at Paramount since Star Trek's having a moment.
Yeah, and the Orville has often been called Seth Trek. So, right. But from these to quite literally the real Trek, I want to make a quick point. We have Lower Decks starting this week, I think, if not next week. And one of the things about Lower Decks is that it is not the only Star Trek animated series on in the last 3 years. So while I'm so excited about the future of Lower Decks, one thing that cannot be missed is that they flew banners for Prodigy above the Netflix offices this week. Now, Netflix doesn't actually have anything to do with Prodigy at all. They're just really hoping that Netflix will see the value in Prodigy as a spinoff of Star Trek, which is having its moment, and will buy it.
Hot sauce, man.
It's a moment. How do you guys feel about the idea of trying to save Prodigy by putting it on the network that gave us such powerful animated children's content as Fast and Furious Spy Racers?
And Jurassic Camp, or whatever it's called. Camp Cretaceous.
I mean, I guess I don't understand how it's not just going to be on Paramount Plus.
I still don't understand.
Canceled it.
Right. I still don't understand.
So I don't, this is a very silly plan. I just don't see. I don't see it happening, man. I don't know. Like, this is one of those. I don't know what to tell you. Not you, like the person out there. Some stuff doesn't work and it gets canceled, And
what even are their options that it is physically finished? Can they just release it for physical or digital sale? Is that an option?
could.
But they would need to know that they can make their money back. Otherwise,
Yeah.
like the producers are out money. Like they're going to owe creditors. And as producers, it's their job to secure those funds. So
It's just so weird. And they're still out here trying to be like home of Star Trek.
And they keep being like, oh, we think we're going to get Prodigy season 3. No, we're hopeful.
The producers, they're like, we're fine. What is going on? This is such a weird point of contention in this fandom right now.
I just keep thinking that maybe they're under the impression that somehow, like, a freebie will be like Star Trek. Sure.
And again, I have to be honest. We watched all of it.
It's not great.
Not great.
Here's the other thing. None of this is going to be here in 2 months. None of these options are going to be here in 2 months. Nobody has any ability to predict what networks or anybody that, streaming platforms. That's the thing, is like, we don't even know if we have networks, streaming platforms, combinations of the two anymore. And we don't know, when this is all said and done, what we're going to have. And the options for how things get released and how they're paid for are going to be completely different post-strike. I mean, the fact that Barry Diller is saying production companies need to just stop talking. There's my girl. There's my fave captain.
Rewatching Voyager.
Well, this is Hollow Janeway.
Incredible.
I know, but it's still Janeway.
It is. I mean, if this guy is a person.
Jankum Pog thinks the Doctor is awesome.
Robert Picardo. I'm so sorry.
The little chubby man on the bottom there, that's Jankum Pog.
Mm-hmm.
And he is voiced by my Greek husband, Jason
Matsukas. Amazing.
Who is just a fucking comedy king. He's a god.
How does he get through the show without saying fuck?
I still think the funniest thing I've ever seen.
Every time he says his own name, he's saying fuck.
Okay.
Whenever I see Rafi from The League.
Yeah.
Brolo. Okay, first of all, The League is one of the funniest shows ever made, ever in the history of the world.
Yeah.
But beyond that, God, Jankum Pog is one of the most perfect things to ever be in Starfleet ever. It's really, the show was a big fail for me, but Jankum Pog was my big walk away with, like, yeah, you could put him on any Star Trek, and if you reined in the dumb Jankum Pog, it would be fine. If you could just have him say, like, me think sometimes, he would have been a great character.
There are things about it that worked. There are things. I also don't know that I feel it ever got to the complete silly depths that I felt Clone Wars often got at times. So I do have to give it that.
Excellent point.
For as much as I'm constantly told, like, Clone Wars is the greatest piece of Star Wars canon ever to exist, well, it's got incompetent robots and faggy huts. So
somebody had to give Pap a blue ribbon at some point.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's a whole discussion. But I mean, in the future, it's that we never explore sales for digital packages. You can technically kind of find them, usually on Amazon, Apple, or the Google Play Store. It usually is possible to purchase a season, but it isn't marketed in the way that it could be, and I almost wish it was. I think it would be really fascinating to get some kind of buy-in like that for a lot of these shows, where if for whatever reason it's just not worth putting up on your streaming service, market it and sell it as a digital purchase. If this is targeted at kids, get it sold to kids, market it on the kids section of app stores. I don't quite know how all of this would work, but again, it's one of those things that the other thing I was going to say, Barry Diller's telling studios to walk away and negotiate directly with SAG-AFTRA. Negotiations between Disney and Charter are breaking down.
But oh my god, if you're gonna bring it up, then I'm gonna bring it up. We're bringing up Charter, and so Disney 3 hours ago, live time, says that they are unwilling to take any steps back in negotiation because by their numbers, ESPN alone is responsible for 54 of 100 of Charter's top charting broadcasts, and all 5 of their top 5. What's interesting about that, ESPN has never carried the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
So by that statement, Disney must be making some sort of statement that it's like 100 cable broadcasts or something, because they can't discount the reality of the Super Bowl. Right. So they must have had something in mind when they made that statement. And I'm so glad you brought that up, because nobody is saying that this system doesn't work more than Charter. Charter is basically saying, put us out of business.
Yeah.
The system is broken. The model is broken. Cable cannot make money for anyone. This is an industry that is dying in front of you.
Yep.
And Disney is literally saying, yes, this is an industry that is dying in front of you. Get off cable. Stop having networks. I am not here to make anything ill-affordable for people who are of lesser incomes. I myself have occasionally found myself feeling like, oh, I wish I was on the dole. Like, it's a thing. Yep. But the reality is we can do more with less technology. We can do more by providing a Roku type stick than we can do with a cable box, provided a modem. And so while I'm clearly not saying that X's first show at 7:08 on 9/3/2023 has solved the entirety of the cable crisis, but I do think that this Charter dilemma and the idea of where is Prodigy going to go?
Yeah.
Damn, man. Because, I think about the fact that Netflix has said that 70% of their streamed content is Korean.
Yeah.
And I cannot think of, for the life of me, one major network catering to audiences looking for Korean-based content. And, and I just want to throw it out to Talir, who's, again, my whole point earlier, guy has something ready for everything. It's funny, the ESPN bit, because a lot of the big ticket content requires a cable subscription to even stream.
Yep.
But
that's what Disney wants to walk away from. They want to just sell it on their own, and they've been doing really great with the ESPN Disney Hulu streaming package. You can do one, you can do a combination of two, or you can do all three. And for a lot of people, that basically accounts for everything they need for entertainment. And it does end up being cheaper than cable. For a lot of households, I can understand why that's the bargain. It also is worth mentioning that we could do more with the bandwidth if we weren't using it for cable. That would that would change internet access. And then, the problem there is that Charter would want to squeeze you for payment for internet access. But also, at the end of the day, they don't actually technically own those lines. They lease them from the government. And it really is time to talk about national broadband access. But if we're all just going to stream everything, which is fine, it means we have to be a lot more careful. We all have subscriptions we need to cancel. Go do that after the show, please. Go look at your subscriptions and cancel the ones you're not supposed to have.
There are apps that can find them for you.
Yeah, exactly.
I just did it, and I saved myself like $72 a month. I didn't even realize I was spending.
Kablamo. But so we have to curate.
Subscribe to us.
Yeah, this is free. We're not asking for money. Subscribe to this. Anything that makes you pay, you really got to think about. Where cable just made it kind of the simple decision. You buy, you have the package, but then you hated the package. And now we have to get a little more active in our consumerism insofar as we got to pick which streaming packages we buy. And then also we're probably going to have to start thinking about specifically okay, I'm going to buy this season of Prodigy, or I won't get it because it's not going to be streaming.
Yeah.
Talir,
Talir, are they strong good feelings about cable? Are you like, let me protect cable, or are you like, burn the cable?
I feel like it's not that, and I have a lot of feelings about cable too. Not the least of which being, fuck those giant boxes, man. If you're trying to do anything aesthetic, whoa. I'm just gonna monologue. If you're trying to do anything aesthetic with a cable box in the mix, you are absolutely in the worst possible position. They are huge and clunky. There's nowhere to put them. We used to, they technically still exist, these things called cable cards, which they were like does anybody remember when laptops used to have PCMCIA cards? They had like a little slot on the side. Cable cards are basically like that. And they would essentially act as a digital tuner for your TV. But cable boxes are the absolute worst. It's one of the big reasons why I stopped doing cable in my house. And then just recently I found a way to get the 8 TVs that my business has. I run a bed and breakfast, and there's 8 TVs in the bedrooms. And our setup used to be so ugly because of the cable box and all the wires. And I just switched the whole thing over to streaming services, and now it is just the TV and this little hidden box on the back of it, and it's absolutely perfect. So I am super pleased about that. We, I think, are where we would want to be for a little commercial action anyway.
Yeah, I agree.
And so I think we should do that. Let Nico work out his camera setup and come back and talk about one of my favorite adaptations in a long time. I think the first adaptation that made me think this is a great the last time I thought this is a great adaptation specifically was The Magicians. Like they really adapted this story for the medium. Magicians was the last time I was like, heck yeah, it wouldn't have worked to be exactly like the book. So I'm psyched that they figured out how to make it work for TV. That's how I felt about The Magicians, and I felt similarly about One Piece, so I'm excited to talk about it.
Good. Well, what does Nico usually say to kick us in commercial? Relax, have a snack, eat some cake.
Relax,
hang out with us.
We're gonna do it. Yeah, just like that, and then we go.
Oh, you mean like this?
So, TK, I see your first entry, and I've actually been really curious about your first entry on the list. Because I didn't know anything about this.
Did you really not?
No.
Really
never heard of this in my life.
Yeah, this is like pizza. Never heard of it. So
yeah, I've never heard of pizza.
I'm shocked that you two, of all people. So yeah, back at the height of his popularity doing Battlestar Galactica, Ron D. Moore shot a pilot for a show called 17th Precinct, featuring it wasn't during the height of Battlestar. It was just after the height of Battlestar Galactica, because
is that Jamie Bamber and
because everybody from Battlestar Galactica was on it. You had Trisha Helfer, Jamie Bamber, James Callis.
And James Callis, yep.
But you know who was not on Battlestar Galactica, who was an enormously important person on this show? Abby Bartlett herself. Stockard Channing.
I have to say, I was super into Matt Long, who is pictured here with Abby Bartlett.
Yes.
He was on, was it Sorkin's or Berlanti's Jack and Bobby? That
Berlanti's
WB show. And then he had some other stuff. But yeah.
Oh, yes.
So much of this cast was crazy.
having seen Stalkered on Broadway, that's how much I love her. I'll be ugly for a second. Having seen Stalkered on Broadway a few times, actually, I love her so much I could die. She's so good.
You can also see just over to the left, Isai Morales is there
pre the bad one.
I guess maybe it's post Caprica.
Yes, Tori, Jack and Bobby.
Jack and Bobby, that's right. So yeah,
So TK, I see your first.
Yeah, Mike.
You're still on me.
Oh, the wild world.
TK was asking us what song was just playing on the commercial, and we informed him that it was our Mandalorian mix. If you'd like, I can bump that up for you right now. We're gonna be talking about
I would love to actually listen to that for a hot minute because I was kind of grooving to it.
We're gonna be talking about Ahsoka a little bit at some point anyway, I believe. So
yeah. Still no. Give it a second.
I mean, if anyone can do Panto, it's Nico.
Yeah, I think he could do this entire thing just through nogging and eyebrows.
For now, would you like to talk to us a bit about your love of One Piece? I knew nothing of this except for the name and the occasional cosplayer who would appear with the straw hat and the vest. That's pretty much all I ever knew of One Piece. I didn't even know there were pirates. Didn't even know it was a pirate thing.
How about now?
Yeah, now there you are. Blah, blah.
All right, real quick, just to explain what happened for our incredible audience, and I can't make this up. As you're saying cable, I look over and I'm like, is my framed cable poster about to fall? Oh no! And like I see it, and because I put my hand on the wall, I caused it to flip over, and it took out all the plugs in the wall. Anyway, yeah, I was actually so proud of that Mando mix. I got back online a minute ago, and I just hadn't turned my. Actually, I wish I could show everybody because I'm really proud of it. I'm a musician more than anything. And so this is my recording studio that I record in. Oh, you can see part of it. Mm-hmm.
Don't move your camera. You just got everything all set up.
No, he's good.
Now I'm good.
I'm going to get you a back-facing camera so that sometimes you can flip and just show everybody the studio space.
That'd be amazing. I would love to. But that Mando
but yes,
mix.
this Mando mix is incredible. We have played it once before. It just because we listened to it quietly so you can hear our beautiful thoughts and voices. I hadn't listened to it like at full volume on its own until that commercial. And yeah, it just it's very sexy.
I tried to put
music.
A bumper.
Nico's music is always fantastic to hear, so thank you for
we
noticing.
so proud of him.
We so proud of him all the times.
And just real quick, I want to pimp because
please, yeah, you must.
It's like Cat Williams on a church on a Sunday. It's just pimping.
Terrible.
Oh God. So I actually had the opportunity to arrange for the incredibly talented, brilliant Demanda Martini, and she just performed a Nico original arrangement at DC Pride United. Really amazing opportunity for me. I've done an arrangement for her before here and there, and so it was always an opportunity to work with somebody I think is amazing. But this show has really helped inspire my confidence. I get a lot of I actually do get like DMs like, hey, the music's great, and so like it's been really exciting. Thank you all so much for helping this part of my personal journey. It's no one's business like that, I have insecurities and like it's no one's problem, but like I'm really confident about getting to share my music on this show, and I want to thank you all for being a huge part of that. But oh my God, right? Love Demanda. It is so cool that somebody just watching our show knows world class and hopefully soon to be world famous drag performer Demanda Martini. When you can see the burn of tech fail come off, and you're like, oh, I'm back to being a person on a show. Great, thank God. One Piece. Listen.
So
I just want to say, number one, I knew nothing about this. I thought I knew anything about this, but I knew nothing about this.
Yeah.
But the adventures of One Piece is.
This was his first joke immediately when he started.
This is Swan.
Number one, that is one of the best leading characters I have ever seen.
Well, hold on before we get there. So you knew nothing about One Piece.
Nothing.
Were you aware that it existed?
Oh yeah, I mean, One Piece is one of those names where like, and everyone would say to me, "Oh, it's the pirate show," and like, I knew it was the pirate show, but like, I thought it was
pirates.
Were you aware that it had been running for such
islands?
Were you aware that it had been running for such a long time?
No.
Okay, and you were semi-90s anime kid because your thing was Cardcaptor Sakura.
My thing was Cardcaptor Sakura and anything else essentially super magical girl.
Sailor Moon.
Yeah, but like Clamp. I'm a big Clamp fag. Tsubasa Chronicles, right? Tsubasa Reservoir Chronicles. That was great.
Revolutionary Girl Utena.
But like also I kind of like grew up on the manga that was available to white people. Right? Like I grew up on white people manga, and I only want to be really clear because if you were willing to do the work to connect with manga available to Asian culture, right? Because that's the line. If it's your people, you call it white people, but when it's something else, you call it Asian culture, right? You dignify it, but you can demean yourself, right? But Asian culture available manga is a much different conversation. And, what we have access to here in America, I guess, thanks Diamond, but it's really not the same thing. So my understanding is stuff like the early Marvel reprints of Aeon Flux. That's my manga.
Yeah. Well, it's tough, too, because we didn't translate as much back in the day. So, people, a lot of weebs learned Japanese because they would not be able to get access to manga otherwise. But yeah, I mean, it's very like that this has taken off, and we're looking at, they say like last year comics was basically a $2 billion industry, and some insane number, like 60% of that is manga.
It's 80.
80. Thank you.
It's literally 80% of worldwide comic sales are manga. And I only know that because I know that Deadpool Samurai #1 is the best selling comic book of the last 10 years.
Right. It's Marvel's, which is just like, we have so many conversations about comics, and it's really, when you say these numbers, people are like, well, Marvel is killing it. No, they're not.
No, mangas sell millions of copies, you fool.
Yeah, so we're talking about, can an X-Men book break to over 100,000 copies, and that's.
I thought thought you were gonna say 80,000.
Oh, yeah, I mean, truly.
80.
So, that's anyway. I was a big late 90s, early 2000s anime boy. Evangelion, Cowboy Bebop, Trigun, Vampire Hunter D,
the little bit
Serial
of Cowboy
Experiments
Bebop
Lane.
we've watched together. What a life-changing realization that genre is a notion.
I feel like Cowboy Bebop was the pirate millennials. One Piece was pirate millennials, Cowboy Bebop. Like, I was into the style of the cyberpunk space western that was Cowboy Bebop, because that's the type of stuff that I'm into. And for people my age that were really into pirates, it was One Piece. And those people got to take One Piece with them throughout their lives. And I got one season in a movie of Cowboy Bebop, and I've been bitter ever since. So I have always been aware of One Piece. I have like vaguely checked in on it from time to time. I keep waiting for them to be like, we're gonna fucking finish this.
Yeah, that's insane to me.
And they just don't, which now is impressive in and of itself. But I do think, like, we reached a point where it was, like, realistically, unless you just really love this show for whatever reason, no, it's not good. Nothing should run this long. Unless you have, like, a dedicated, like, and to a certain extent, I know they do. They have, this gets passed down. I don't know.
Well, there's only been 3 head writers, and they've each done such an extended amount. So one guy did like 1 to 198. One guy did like 198 to like 784 or something.
Right.
And then one guy did like 785 through now.
Right. So,
oh, magoof.
I've always been a little skeptical because I felt like it has gone on a long time. I don't watch nearly as much anime as I used to, but I still watch a lot. And Talir says, Mecha Girl over here, Gundam Wing, Endless Waltz was the first DVD I ever bought at Suncoast. That's a throwback for the elder weebs.
I just need to put out there that one of the first men I found attractive was the mech from Superhuman Samurai Cyber Squad.
Yeah,
that was one of the ways I knew I was a homosexual. Mm-hmm. So, big sexy robot. I also think that quite literally we have achieved the pinnacle of human excellence in the robot from the remake of Lost in Space.
Oh yeah,
pinnacle of human excellence. So I think
plus how hot Isaac is underneath.
Why would you say that to me on air?
I know.
Now we can't stand up.
Part of me
you don't need to.
Oh my god! So Mecha has huge room here always.
Yeah. Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah, that commercial that I play from the Power Rangers episode where you call the Shogun Megazord sexy. Makes me feel sexy.
You're like that lady that is married to the Eiffel Tower,
and
but cheated on it with a fence.
Did she really? A fence taken.
So, One Piece has always been in my recognition, and I always knew that this day would come. And then we got the Cowboy Bebop show. And my heart broke in ways I never knew it could, and I don't think it has ever healed from.
Babe, I'm so sorry.
I really... That was so bad and so poorly thought out. Really broke my heart. Phenomenal shirt, Meatball. I love it. Bringing the piracy to us, which I so respect.
He is.
I am Tori Amos, and I unattractively and inappropriately love pirates at all times.
So
I
decided that Netflix really probably should not be doing this One Piece remake because of how badly they failed at the Cowboy Bebop live action show. I just felt like they couldn't do it. That's just plain and simple. They couldn't do it. And when we first saw screen caps and trailers for this, I noticed that there has been this quality to particularly Netflix adaptations of anime where I don't know how to describe it, but it is in the camera work. It's in everything. It feels vaguely like, oh God, there's no word for it, but you can just feel in the style that it is their weird way of adapting anime.
I literally said to Kevo, the most anime thing I have ever, those the wanted posters.
Yeah.
And the way
those
the
introductions,
light,
yeah.
oh my gosh, this is such, it's I think the way to say it for me is when I watched Daredevil, I could see that the people who made Daredevil, whether they grew up with Daredevil or not, they'd read a run that hit them. It hit them in the stomach, the way that like your first, if you've ever been punched in the stomach legitimately, your first really good punch in the stomach teaches you just a little bit about yourself.
Oh yeah.
That is what those people experienced when they read that run of Daredevil. And they translated it, and that is what I felt from every frame, for better or for worse. Because the end of episode 1 left me fucking cold.
Yeah.
I hated the buggy introduction. It landed like a bag of salmon. It was just horrible.
Yep.
That's a New Zealand reference. And but dude, as a guy who had no knowledge of One Piece before I watched these 3 episodes, I'm not kidding. As soon as we turn this off, I'm turning on the next episode of One Piece.
Yeah.
I'm a pirates guy. I'm a magic guy. I really am a huge pirates guy. So this is like a big thing for me. I obsessively love pirates, and everything I write is essentially pirates. All of my superheroes are pirates. I only write superheroes as camps, each on their own boat. I really only understand how to write pirates.
Yeah.
And I felt like, I don't want to cry on air, but I felt like childlike joy. I felt so happy. Like, I felt like I was like, it's Shanice, I love your smile levels of felt good inside. And like, I love heroes. It can be as dark as it needs to be, as long as that one pinprick of light can show through. I don't care how dark it gets, but if you promise me there's a star in the distance, I'll get there. I will never stop fighting through the dark to get to the joy. And when a hero exemplifies that, when a hero is exactly that on paper, my heart changes a little bit. And Luffy, oh my God, Monkey D. Luffy he is effervescence. He is joy. He is the thing that Spider-Man is. There's no other direct comparison in the world, because Superman has like an honor to it, but Spider-Man has a joy to it. It's, it's the Fred Astaire, Gene Kelly, and I can't do it again. Right. But God, Monkey D. Luffy is perhaps one of the most exciting protagonists I have ever experienced in just 3 installments of anything in my life. I literally have been thinking all day about how after 3 episodes of the Netflix, I can't wait to watch all 1,000 episodes.
Here's a question.
Hit me.
Is anybody who was involved in the anime, or what number of people are involved in making the Netflix adaptation?
They are not directly producing. They are consulting and EPing, and the creators have said that some of the more controversial decisions that they made, every one of them had the creator's blessing. So
interesting.
This is not one of those things where they just kind of went and did their own thing.
Can I just tell you, Talir, the first time I said to my little guy, my boy, my Jonah, that I knew what Boruto was, I swear to God, his little weeb heart grew 11 sizes that day, because fatherhood in anime actually is a humongous element of the storytelling. So the fact that there are already so many father-son relationship tropes in this, and I know about a couple of others because I had to read the wiki to be smart enough to be on this episode, you know what I mean? When you immediately say something like Goku without being a deadbeat dad, I mean, yeah, fathership, the idea of lone wolf and cub as a tradition in anime is such a humongous element of American manga, American anime. Oh my God, Eddie's so hot. What is that?
Yeah.
Oh, hey, daddy. And so, TK, though, you know way more about this universe and particularly this show than we do to be able to explain to us a little bit of some of the changes. Kevo, now, had you seen that Kobe is trans via the actor's wiki or the character's bio on the Netflix page?
Actor.
Now, TK, you said that that is not necessarily an element of the original, but rather
Right.
that's perhaps either a hot anime Colonel Sanders, as Talir Agron says. Thank you. Oh, Kevin and I both went to flash the comments so hard we fought. I'll let Kevo get it. But you said that is not an element of the traditional storytelling of the One Piece story.
Yeah.
So, do you feel that that is something that One Piece has grounds to delve into? Is One Piece a trans-friendly community, or do you think that this is something that's going to be groundbreaking for the franchise?
I think it's groundbreaking for the franchise. I don't know that it will ever be addressed that the character is trans. I don't know that that will ever be part of the story. And I think we are in a place right now where sometimes that does need to happen. The tough thing can be who's making those decisions and for what reason. I feel as though this is a case in which the safest thing is to not say anything. So that's fine, because we do need to have shows and stories where trans people are shown, and it is not, here's why they're here. We know they shouldn't be otherwise, so let us explain it to you. But there are times where the balance of that is, are you being smart and showing the world that trans people just can exist, or are you hiding?
Well, and I just also want to say the other thing that I thought you were also trying to hint at is, are you giving trans people your blessing to exist? Like you're saying, oh, look, we've said there's room for trans people. You're welcome. Like, no, trans people have been fighting a lot much like harder and stronger than like cis hets have to earn that space.
So, I think that probably will not come up, but I think ultimately that's completely fine.
Can I pivot to something a lot less serious that's very serious, though?
Of course you can.
How is Zoro so hot?
I've said it before about other people, and, maybe I'm starting to feel bad at how little I value your lives, but I would set my house on fire with all of you inside and walk away. You
do leap right to setting all of us on fire.
I know.
Like,
I feel bad.
Out first.
I would. Might be a fever dream, but I think One Piece later on has trans or non-binary characters. Talir, that might be true, but it's not Kobe. That was my only point there. It is very possible that they do. You do see a lot of non-gender specific characters in Japanese stories of all kinds, but especially anime. There's a fantastically weird trans in some capacity character in Cowboy Bebop, and that's from like 2000. So it happens.
But you've been doing a show for 1,070.
At some point you just stumble upon it by dint of having that's the last thing you haven't talked about.
It's weirder not to after that many episodes.
Guys, I have been on 900 episodes of the combined X HTML franchise. I'm so tired.
But yeah, Zoro, for one thing, the character is just the absolute best. I vibe with that character so much because though I present and project because I'm on a camera, in my day-to-day life, I come off a little bit like Zoro from time to time. I'm a bit monosyllabic.
Listen, I count myself very lucky to be one of two people who get to say they are your partner in this whole world. And there are times it feels like I am making out with the most makey outiest rock. Like, you're totally given tongue, but like,
Yeah.
you're a very mysterious man, and that is like a part of your charm. That is part of what makes you so complicated. And as someone who is, deeply in love for the rest of his life with a guy just like that, when I see it in a character like Zorro, I think it's really interesting that they're able to capture what makes somebody like you unique. When I feel like, I say the same thing about when somebody can capture something as unique as Kevo. A Kevo is equally hard to capture. I think a Nico is equally hard to capture. And when you can see something so uniquely human in art, that's that pinnacle. That's that high point. That's why a character like this can be from a show that runs 1,000 fucking episodes.
And Mackenyu, the character or the actor that plays Zorro, I think is able to capture such a unique character moment. I don't know quite how to describe it, but he doesn't ham it up. It is not over the top. He really leans into the quiet simplicity of the performance in a way that gives the character really like a feeling of like he is a lived experience character. He is recognizable, living and loving. He is just stoic.
Remind me whose kid he is again, because you guys know better
yeah, I
than
was just
do.
getting to that. Mackenyu, who plays Zorro, is the son of Sonny Chiba, one of the great Japanese actors of all time. Most people our age will know him best as Hattori Hanzo in Kill Bill. But he has a huge legacy in cinema, and it just in no way surprises me that he has an absolutely gorgeous actor son who is playing this sword-wielding pirate hunter on this show absolutely perfectly. I think he's just the most beautiful man on the planet. And now I don't need to say anything more about One Piece. That was really, I was just here so that the world knows how much I love Mackenyu.
So Kevo.
His dad was 82 when he was 24.
Yeah.
Get it?
Yeah.
Sonny Chiba.
Sonny Chiba fucks.
Man, and I bet he
did.
does. Yeah, right. There's
he was in Tokyo Drift.
Yeah.
He was.
We watched that on Too Fast, Too Forever.
And if you haven't checked out cageclub.me, so like real quick, not even like an actual sidebar. One of my friends was like, be on my podcast, and I was like, sure. And his friend who ran the podcast network was like, you're very good at this. If you want to make your own podcast, I'll help you. And I was like, no. And so like anybody who ever enjoys anything we make, please check out cageclub.me. Check out any of the other incredible programs they make. You might even find some early stuff from me. But there are very few people I trust with the integrity of my vision and to keep making what I make and help me make it all possible as much as I trust Joey Lewandowski, who does all of this and makes it look so easy. So really grateful, and just want to put that out there since Kevo was kind enough to mention Too Fast, Too Furious. I believe they are Too Fast, Too Forever.
Yeah, I said Too Fast, Too Forever.
Oh, I'm sure you said it right. I was correcting myself.
Do you remember what lap we were of Too Fast, Too Forever? I want to link to our Tokyo Drift episode, but
I don't. Unfortunately, they are such a successful Fast and Furious podcast. I'm not trying to like blow smoke, but there's only like 2 that are successful. So
yeah,
a lot of laps. I do want to jump back to One Piece for a second. Something that One Piece offers is a sort of surrender to the surreality of excitement. And that's something I very much enjoyed about the 3 episodes I had an opportunity to watch. I felt like lucky to watch them. There was something so exciting about not knowing who was going to have had a devil's fruit and seeing who surprisingly did. And then I thought one character did with the bang moment, and they didn't, and then they did. And it just was like, this felt to me like a really fascinating will they, won't they? But for the whole universe, did they devil's fruit? Will they devil's fruit? How many devil's fruits are there? And, I think it's really funny. Talir, you say One Piece is camp, so finding a way to be the straight man in camp while not being out of the place is difficult. That's the magic, what I enjoyed of One Piece, episodes 1 through 3. Are you out of place? Do you feel weird? You're beautiful. Don't worry about it. You're welcome. Come play. And I had a great time. I just found it to be a celebration of fantasy and of magic. Kevo, when I think about people who understand how to celebrate fantasy and magic and blend multi-genre, I think of you. And what was your big takeaway from One Piece? You know, you're with me for the next 5, and probably not 1,067, no matter how excited I am at this moment.
There are so many watch orders that let you skip through. I'm not kidding. Like, people have, with 1,000 episodes and 20 plus years to almost 30 at this point, people have produced some really great, concise watch orders. And I'll talk about that more in a second, but keep asking Kevin your question.
So, Kevo, what was your big takeaway? I know I kept looking over at you and being like, this is amazing. What do you think? In a way that didn't give you a lot of room to dissent.
I thought there was going to be more.
No, that was the whole lead up. I actually found a way to an off ramp.
Well, I found my thing.
Oh, you are.
So that's what's important to me.
Yes.
I hold a unique distinction on this show as the only person who knows how to guess through the car game really well. I've been to the New York International Auto Show several times, motherfuckers.
And 2 things about this. First of all, so far both episodes of Tokyo Drift from Too Fast to Forever that I looked at mention Chrissy Teigen in the summary. Step up your game. Step up your game, Joseph. Step it up. And for anyone who wants to listen to our Too Fast to Forever coverage, we are lap 7. I will try to remember that. 7 is a great number. We are lap 7. Is 7 one of the good Fast movies?
After 5, it's one big movie about Vin Diesel's testosterone supplements.
You know what hasn't been a blur so far is This Little Delight. Yeah, it's just been really fun and interesting. I loved what Talir mentioned above, if I can find the comment. But yeah, Netflix knows how to adapt the stylization of anime to live action that doesn't look too much. It's a hard thing to capture, and so I can see why it's failed in the past. And it's so interesting to think about it from that perspective, because, like, goddamn, if this came before Ms. Marvel, would they have changed Ms. Marvel's powers in the MCU? Or did they change her powers because they didn't think they could properly do the stretching and make it look good? But this does a really good job. I was really blown away, especially because I wasn't expecting it. And so when it happened, I was like, what the fuck is happening? Again, another element that I had no idea about.
I thought it was a hallucination.
I feel like I knew something about there was fruit, but, like, it's an anime. Of course there's weird fruit. That's not, gonna send me anywhere.
Weird Fruit, a much less racially charged version of an American classic.
Get out of here right now.
Get right the fuck out. But so I think my question for the team, more than anything, and the thing that this is most unlocking my brain about is, so now what do we think about the upcoming Avatar: The Last Airbender adaptation? Knowing the producers are not directly involved, but are still very much, we give our blessing, but we weren't going to keep fighting to probably be able to micromanage, and that's fair because it's your baby, but it's Netflix and they're Netflix. But so if they do this job of Avatar: The Last Airbender, are we maybe less nervous?
Yeah, I mean, this is the problem now. This almost is worse because after Cowboy Bebop, I was like, they can't do it. I have my animated show. I don't need anything else, and I don't need to keep doing this to myself. It's the same way that, like, I don't really trust Netflix. Netflix is clearly killing its employees and attempting to destroy actors and writers. So I don't trust Netflix. And when American Gods was announced, I said to myself, I have the American Gods audio series.
Yep.
That's my adaptation. I don't ever need to worry.
Is something, and the comics that go along with the American Gods adaptation, I think
in that vein, though, then Sandman is another one from Gaiman that goes in the other direction of, and you even said your adaptation is the audio of
Yep.
Sandman.
Yep.
But Netflix turned out so much better
No,
than
no,
we
it
anticipated.
absolutely.
Oh, yeah,
I
no,
think
the
it's
Sandman is
amazing, but
incredible.
I think it's amazing. But my point is,
It's a
before it came
50-50.
out, before it came out, I just thought like this is gonna bomb, and I'm fine with that. I don't need to get excited because screw Netflix. When Cowboy Bebop came out, I actually did think it was going to be great, and my heart was broken, and it really just absolutely killed me. And so I said like they're not gonna get Avatar right, and I can just walk away right now. And then this came out, and suddenly there was this real possibility that they could do. I see Avatar as similar to what I said at the start of this. It could be a phenomenal, specifically adaptation, in that it's really going to need to be different from the anime. It should not be beat for beat, shot for shot, characters perfectly translated. It needs to be its own thing that works for the medium, whether that's aesthetics, whether that's cutting down story, all of these things that, as I was mentioning, Magicians did and did phenomenally well. It knew exactly how to make itself a 4 to 5 season TV show, not a forever ongoing and not a TV movie, but it did that perfectly. One Piece doing the same thing. So this first season adapts basically the first like 50-ish episodes.
Oh my God. Okay. Sorry.
Oh.
Yeah,
So-
no, same reaction.
So either they're doing 20 plus seasons or they will cut down even more. But they could be really in the long haul for this, but they made really serious choices to get this story told. They were smart. I think they picked exactly the right ones, exactly the right formats. They,
Oh my God. I'm
And-
sorry. I'm fucked. I'm
no,
sorry.
I know.
No, you're right. I think a big part of it too is going to hugely come down to, and I think what part of the strength of this so far is the cast.
Yes.
These performers are great.
Yes.
This guy, I feel like anyone different, I really might not like Luffy as much as I'm liking him.
Oh, can I?
Iñaki
and-
Godoy is the actor.
How old
Sure, I
is
have
Luffy
more, but-
supposed to be?
Yeah.
I want to say like 20.
Oh, then everything's fine.
Yeah.
Kevo,
Not
please
too
continue
young,
your
not
question.
too old. Well, no, even more a statement. Like looking at, and I even want to name some of the people that we love that are in Avatar: Daniel Day Kim, Ken Leung, Yvonne Chapman,
Oh my
Amber
God.
Midthunder, Danny
Oh my
Pudi,
God.
Utkarsh Ambudkar, Arden Cho is playing June the Bounty Hunter. Like
Is this
George
a season
Takei
of
is co-
Avatar? Or is
George
this my
Takei is
Oscars?
the face stealer. Like there's so many great performers just in this first season alone that we love. So like I have to hope that's a good sign.
Yeah.
But great people do bad things.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it really could go either way. It could also be like everybody does their best, but it is a bad adaptation. Poor choices were made to get from the animated show to the live action show. That just is a thing that happens. It just doesn't work. Nobody is specifically like a bad actor. The writing isn't bad. It just is not right for translating from one medium to the other. I see all of these things as possibilities right now, and the idea that it could be great is like, that would be wonderful, but now my hopes are up again, and it's a place I hate to
Dangerous.
be in. I hate to be in that place during the writer's strike, where we just it's never been more clear that there are artists trying to make great art, and there are executives trying to make the most money possible and pay everybody the least possible, even if that means that the people that create their art to sell will live lives of squalor.
And if it compromises the art.
Exactly. So for them, if they can get the show out and make money, they don't care if it's bad. They don't care if it is a well-done adaptation, money or no money, which does not always rely on the quality of the art. So
That's the thing, and it's not to ever say there's any justification for anything, but like artists love to suffer for our art. We do.
Of course.
We love to be little bitches and we love to
Of
suffer.
course.
So like if we were suffering for good art, it would even be one thing.
Right.
But like the absolute insult upon injury upon everything else is it's for bad art. Fuck you.
I would really like to suffer from too much cocaine money. Like that would really be the dream.
The dream.
Oh no, I can't stop buying limited edition records from the 1990s that I always dreamed of having mounted on my wall. Oh no, I have an original copy of Super Pinky Mandy. Like, I can't even stop thinking of the dumb shit I'd buy if the big problem was I was suffering from too much success.
Oh, yes.
Anyway, I just want to say that, like, I was not going to watch this. I didn't even know this existed.
Yeah.
But, man, One Piece, what a breathtaking thing of joy for me.
Yeah.
I just want to give my final thoughts, pivot to Kevo, and then Teak, I would love it if you would take us on home.
Mhm.
And then Kevo, if you would introduce the next amazing live action show adapted from an animation that we're going to be taking a look at. But I really need a hero. I need a hero to love and to believe in. I need somebody who represents the idea that no matter how dark the night gets, the day will be better. And whatever version of that is, no matter how bad the day is, night will have relief. Whatever it is for you. And God, I know I keep making the joke of he's One Piece, but fuck you, that's a great joke. But number two, Luffy is just such an amazing interpretation of kind of the gallantness of the idea of the medieval hero. That yes, I live by this code of honor, and his code of honor is joy in helping others. Kobe wants a completely different life than he does, and his only thought is, oh yes, we will be natural enemies, but imagine if we did this together and parted as friends, and someday we could meet again. And like, it's that excitement that, number one, clearly I want it to be played by Benjamin Bratt, but number two, this show represents the idea that your only destiny is the happiness you choose. And I felt taken from minute one. I like a lot of stuff TK suggests, but and I like a lot of stuff anybody suggests, but this was something that I would have loved if I found it in an instant on my own, had it not been suggested by somebody I respect so much, right? Because that's always a thing. If somebody you love suggests something, you give it a little extra. Nope, didn't need any extra. This would have been a 240 with or without any extra. So, Kevo, talk to me a little bit about your experience watching One Piece earlier today.
Oh, I just realized Shanks is the genie from Once Upon a Time in Wonderland.
Yep.
I looked it up later on. Yeah.
Did you know
also,
it's good?
Do you know who Buggy is?
Yes. Deke from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Did you get that when you saw him, or did you look it up?
No, I knew beforehand. I might have over time gotten it. I would have gotten that it was him or someone like him. Yeah, because he's like a type.
He is.
Like
there are many guys that everybody who's at his auditions.
Chris Lowell is another one. R.I.P. How I Met Your Father.
Hey, no, if it puts Samantha in a position to make the move back to the Upper East Side.
And what's really funny is, Nico, the screen cap I showed you earlier from the series finale of Riverdale, the hot dude, I'm pretty sure played one of this guy's brothers in Once Upon a Time in Wonderland.
Oh, that's exciting.
So, weird day for me. Shanks was interesting. I don't care for young Luffy at all. I don't know if we're supposed to.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's miscast or if I don't know if we're supposed to find him obnoxious as fuck.
I think it's miscast.
Okay, that's unfortunate.
For one thing, I think it is very odd that I love that Iñaki Godoy has a pretty, I don't want to say a thick accent, but a very obvious accent. And
it's beautiful. It makes everything he says have a melody to the language.
Yeah. It gives him a life. There's so much that an accent can have, and it's not just the fact that there are people with English accents. There are many accents in the mix.
Honestly, not to be really ridiculous, but Craig's gay accent in the final season of Parks and Recreation is a defining element of the quality of the humor that supports why Craig is funny without being exploitative of the quality of his accent. Accenting is a humongous element of how we code speak to one another. And I really think it is a beautiful element of expressing uniqueness and oneness in a universe of same pirates. 1,000%.
I mean, I really couldn't have said it better. So anyway, it's odd that they couldn't cast a Mexican child who was obviously a person of color and who himself had an accent. It's
disappointing because if Tyler Posey just shaves down.
Tyler Posey would have been good in this too, but
yeah, he doesn't have that same brightness to him, but he would have been great in the show overall. He just couldn't have been Luffy. Anyway, continue, Kevo.
Just enjoying it. Looking forward to more. Knowing that there was no ending gives me anxiety.
Yeah, I get that.
But, I think Game of Thrones set an interesting precedent for the world and for art in terms of are the books going to end the same way that the TV show did?
We now know they don't have to.
Were they always going to, and now the creator changed his mind? Who knows? And ultimately, well, it doesn't matter because this is how it happened, and it's how it's going to happen. Yep. And I hope there is a plan to give this some sort of definitive, conclusive end.
Yeah.
I don't imagine it has to involve finding the One Piece. That's okay. It's just a really fun world, and it's really interesting, and I think there's a lot of cool stuff you could do with it, especially as The Witcher is falling apart around them.
This feels the live action show feels much more likely to be the One Piece was the friends we made along the way. The
friends forever.
The Pirate King really just said something to. Okay, stop that. Kara, did you say something?
Sorry that we know Saved by the Bells in universe.
Yes, we will. Don't think I don't know that song. How dare you?
Okay, well then have a little the Max in your spirit.
No, I harmonized with him. I didn't say something human. I was part of the problem.
Okay, you're both terrible.
We're both on notice.
Anyway, I could really see this doing its own thing. The two big shows I think about when it comes to this stuff are Lost, in which they always said they knew what was going to happen, and they clearly did not. And
actually, they did, and it was quite literally purgatory from day one. And when people
they did, it was just dumb.
They figured it out. Yeah, they got all upset.
I don't believe you, but okay.
No, we saw one of the writers.
No,
from
I know. Calm down.
Yeah.
And then we have Game of Thrones, in which they were given all of the information ahead of time and told, make of this what you will, and made bad decisions. So anyway, we have some precedents now in which it is safe to be a producer who knows where your show could go, what you're kind of allowed to do and could get away with, and start making some really strong decisions from season one that can get you all the way there. The big problem, of course, is that Netflix will not commit to closing out shows. So few get the ability to do so, and we are really looking at something that just might not make it. Not because it's bad, not because it doesn't deserve to, not because they did anything wrong that had they done right, they would have been kept on the air. I have never seen a community so in love as fandom was with Sandman. And Neil Gaiman was like, right, but only 2 million of you watched it in the first 30 seconds. So Netflix says it's a failure. So there is no law, there's no logic. And then again, as I've been talking about throughout the episode, we do not know what the landscape is going to look like in 30 days. Let alone what that will turn into when they have to make the next season of this show. Mm-hmm. So this could be anything. I really hope it gets the full breadth of seasons that it needs. I suspect they could end it in 5 or 6 if they really, slice and dice and accept that there's just a lot of stuff they're not going to be able to do. I think if they really wanted to, what's that finger for?
Oh, we have to move to Ahsoka in a minute.
I think they really
I
wanted
had a finger up first.
I know, I'm saying we got to finish this rollout.
I think if they really wanted to, they could do 10, but I don't think they'll ever get that. Having said that, I love this show almost as much as I love Ahsoka.
Well, Kevo, I think you got some one feels.
Yeah, I was ready.
Okay.
That was the whole point. It was Kevo, then me.
Relax. We're having fun. Relax.
It's Kevo, then me, and then we transitioned to Ahsoka, which I did seamlessly. And there you go.
Well, and I have 2 interconnected points that I can use to pivot us into Ahsoka, which are specifically, I love that you said safe. And I love the point that you were making about how there's precedence for this, because that's exactly the point that I was making about the rubber effect and Ms. Marvel, where I wish Ms. Marvel had gotten to see that first, because then maybe they would have done the power differently. True. Now that there is this more precedent of, animes being adapted and all of these different things, One Piece has these models that they can follow the example of. And the secondary point of that being, I wonder if then You Might Be Canceled Any Second is a model we need to start thinking about too. So many of these shows had been living on, we're going to drag this mystery out forever and every season ends on a cliffhanger, and that doesn't work. And maybe we need to go back to more like the BBC model, which used to close out everything. That's why it was called a series. And it closed out the major plot threads, and it was contained, and there didn't need to be more. And if it got more, that's great. But that's why because they were also disconnected and separate in many ways. That's why they originally went with the nomenclature of series instead of season. And I think that is something that we perhaps need to start thinking about in terms of major content that we're creating for streaming and just in general. And to pivot to Ahsoka, it's something I'm going to be wondering. It's something I'm going to be wondering as we watch this season of Ahsoka, because is this meant to just be season 5 of Rebels? Is this meant to potentially be an ongoing series where we're going to get multiple seasons of Ahsoka?
Is this just Dave Filoni's creator sex fan? And I mean creator sex. I don't mean like his personal sexual fantasy.
Yeah, no, not fetishizing Ahsoka, fetishizing the intellectual idea of bringing your work to life in this way. I followed you 100%.
Is this just his that? Which, if it is, I'm 3 episodes in, and I'm riding high as hell. The 3rd episode, while having an uncomfortably short runtime, I mean, extended sitcom.
It was so good that it was, though, but keep going.
Truly. That's exactly, everything was like, oh, well, the 3rd episode of Ahsoka is going to have such a short runtime. It proves that it must have been that Rosario Dawson got tired because she's a woman and her breasts are so heavy. Every motherfucking Disney site, every stupid Star Wars fan page, every idiot on Twitter and I was one of them who retweeted this, so every idiot includes me. Every idiot that said, well, this proves that Ahsoka has so little story. No, it says that it says it faster and right. What do you want to watch? Do you want to watch the Star Wars lightsaber duels from episode 2 that last 17 minutes? Or do you want to watch Indiana Jones crack that whip once and take the dude with the sword? Oh, no, it's the gun. He uses the gun. Right. He shoots him even faster. Damn. No, this was a masterclass in writing.
It also says we make the episodes and we tell the stories in the time needed. and then we end it there. We do not say every show needs to be 44 minutes long so that we have 16 minutes for commercials to give us a clean hour before we go to the next block. We know streaming shows don't need that, but so many people still write around that time frame and format because it's all anybody knows, and it just so clearly says I am unable to get out of the mode of thinking that allows me to write for the medium that I'm in and the carrier that I'm in. This is, doing this is much more like doing a series. You say, I need 8 episodes to tell the story of Ahsoka, and I can break them into X, Y, and Z. And, the third episode only needs to be 35 minutes because that is just the story of this one thing. No, I don't want to pad it with a B story about nothing. It's just my 35-minute episode, and it works perfectly. It is tight and claustrophobic. It is, you are in that ship. They are about to get their asses handed to them, and it is the story of them getting from point A to point B, and that's it, and it's perfect.
It was just such a succinctly beautiful episode, Kevo.
Yes.
As a person who, kind of eats and breathes Star Wars and throughout your childhood, and, has a really healthy understanding of the strengths and weaknesses of the franchise as an adult. How did you feel about not just the first 3 episodes of Ahsoka, but that incredibly taut, tight third episode with a perfect score?
Oh my God, yeah. The score just keeps impressing, for real.
You must have said 3 times during the episode, this score is perfect. He's perfect.
Yes. He was really emulating a lot of the wider beats of John Williams' score that don't really get as much notice as that big brassy dual sunset theme generally gets from a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
Gosh, it's just so much fun, and I feel like something that is so hugely missing from so much of the Star Wars fandom anymore is the ability to just have fun and enjoy how silly and cartoonish this can be at times.
Totally.
I saw something questioning how Ahsoka got into her spacesuit so quickly, and I don't give any amount of fuck. It was so cool to see her standing on top of a spaceship with 2 lightsabers. That's great. That's
just about
fucking great.
Dehydrated.
In all of this time, Star Wars has basically never done that. I mean,
and I'm probably gonna say every episode. There's all these. Where was this character during XYZ? During what? Who now? What? It's a great big galaxy. So what was Ahsoka doing during the original trilogy of Star Wars movies? I don't know. Something, but we'll probably find out, or we won't. Part of me would love just one episode. Hi, Jojo.
It's the kiddo.
One episode that gives us a series of flashbacks, perhaps, and just snips of what was going on with her during that time. But we don't really need a ton. It's just like a giant fun world, and I love the ways in which they are keeping a lot of this loose. I made an image for last week, and it's just one of the things I wanted to make sure to point to before I forgot. This was something I found that was this is when all the episodes of Ahsoka are going to drop. And now this is wrong because they moved the date. This is for when it was airing on Wednesday mornings. And now every single
it's
one
all
of these
shifted.
It's all a day earlier. And it really goes to show how much they are.
It's actually not early, Kevy. I don't want to tell you that you're kind of being prejudiced, but it's actually on Coruscant time.
Jonah, hit him.
Hit him hard. Yeah, I mean, I completely agree with everything you're saying. I think everything that we're seeing from Star Wars lately in this era is one of the big jobs it's doing is saying this is a galaxy. You will never know everything that is happening, and it would be insane to want to and to expect to.
And you'll never know who's telling the truth. Everything is that certain point of view.
Yep. You are just never going to get all the information. And if we keep giving you great information and you keep saying, right, but I want to know this, Eventually, you're just the garbage fan. It is no. It's
You're
no
the person
longer
that demanded that she do 99 red balloons. Learn the German. Be international.
get your shit together.
I didn't mean to end the conversation. Fine.
No.
That's it.
I think Ahsoka continuously proves that there's always something else going on. There's always more to know. I also think, we can get to a place where like the Jedi are not that important. They're one church, they're just the Catholics.
Yeah.
What were the Buddhists doing? What were
Well,
you know,
and like, what were the Protestants doing, and
Right.
what were the Lutherans doing, and
Right.
what was the Church of England doing, other than mostly being into a crown?
Yeah.
And I think that's the point of the focus on Mandalorians right now in
Yes.
this era as well. I saw a meme that was pointing to the fact that Sabine is a Mandalorian training to be a Jedi, and that Grogu is a
Grogu.
Jedi training to be a Mandalorian, and like,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, other people should get to use the Force. And I think one thing that has basically never been said in Star Wars is it's not just the Jedi and the Sith.
There's Jamiroquai.
I am going to slap the shit out of you.
Also, Talir suggests the Protestants were making the First Order, which
Jesus Christ, Talir, you get
No.
slapped too.
those are the missionaries because they're out there in the middle of the unknown regions. The only other point that I want to make, and it's something speaking of not wanting to get our hopes up, but like I'm really stoked.
Can't breathe.
I'm really stoked for any amount of Anakin appearance, and I made this image specifically because, so this was a real post from Rosario Dawson on Instagram. This was her reacting to rumors that Hayden Christensen was going to be involved in Star Wars, and Lucasfilm called her and was like, "You should delete that.
Can you
There's
imagine?
nothing official. There's nothing official. You're not even spoiling it." But they're like, "You're not even spoiling anything technically. But like, you're only reacting to rumors. That's not real news. You should delete that." But but how excited she was so cool.
That's what I'm trying to even like. I'm trying to step on your excitement.
Well, let me finish.
Because when I think about the fact that he, as a young boy, was told he gets to be like the third person to play Vader, and she gets to call herself Snips, a name that means everything to fandom, and the joy in. I mean this with kindness, but like her paycheck could literally shit his paycheck out, and it would be nothing. Because she's Rosario Dawson. She's a record-breaking superstar.
She's Mimi.
Yeah, she's Mimi. And I don't mean the emancipation of, I mean the dying of AIDS of.
She's Valerie of the Pussycats.
And so when you talk about these two sharing this photo, the joy in her face makes me feel she recognizes what this means.
Yeah. She's really acquitting herself to the fandom very well. And I really appreciate it. She's not the most beloved. I think we all had a little bit of a bitter taste in our mouths when we saw that she was getting this role.
I agree. The Book of Beloved was stronger than the Oprah film.
We all know that, but she's been really great in this. She is fantastically inhabiting the role, but the role too of having to be part of the fandom, she seems to be getting really right. And I think it pairs well with this thing where we're all realizing that we rushed to consume a poorly made Star Wars movie and blamed the first person we literally saw. And it was just this dude who showed up to work, and we ruined his life.
Like 17 years old, being told you're the next Darth Vader.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah. You are, you're Luke Skywalker who falls from grace, but you're Luke Skywalker. So be Luke Skywalker. And everybody said, "How dare you?" And this guy who was just doing his best, man. that part of the fandom experience of Ahsoka and this next era could include Hayden Christensen getting to be a part of these stories in this fandom as carried through by an incredible group of creators and thinkers who are just doing the right stuff with these stories. I think it's so amazing. You know, sorry.
Well, no, I want to say that, like, if we're going to talk for a moment about this group of creators, we need to talk for a moment about the strike again. It's worth mentioning. And something that's worth saying is that they're trying to say that it's not just the top 10% of actors you need to be thinking of. You need to be thinking of everyone.
Yeah.
And if we were just talking about a world where it was guys like, Colin Hanks. They called Colin Hanks and they gave him a Star Wars movie. That'd be one thing, but they're taking some bold chances and they're giving it to young women like Bryce Dallas Howard. And she was literally born with a Happy Days branded silver spoon in her mouth.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of women with silver spoons get nothing else for the rest of their lives. And so stop with fuck Kevo, I can't live.
Shame!
No, Star Wars is at least making the effort, and a fucking better effort than the Marvel Universe is when it comes to representing women. And the Marvel Universe is definitely catching up. But I remember the casting of Bryce, and it's casting because, let's be real, they're not going through talent and availability. The casting of Bryce Dallas Howard as one of the directors was definitely a moment. And I just think that Ahsoka represents such an important moment in the Star Wars fandom. The fact that we have never had a drag queen dress as Ahsoka makes me so sad for myself. So
never had a notable drag queen. It absolutely has.
I'm so sorry. I meant on screen.
Right.
Because I am occasionally convinced that Ahsoka just is a drag queen and it's going to be revealed in the finale.
I mean, yeah, there should be more drag queens dressing as Ahsoka specifically. Like, this is 100% drag queen.
Give it time. I think we're getting there.
So do me a favor, guys. Fill me out on your Ahsoka feels, because this was literally one of the best episodes of Star Wars television ever. And I am counting the groundbreaking series of Ewoks. So, final thoughts on Ahsoka episode 3, and then let's bring in this cute fuzzy guy for some Drag Race.
Yeah.
I'll
go.
Head empty. Head empty.
What?
He said
Head
head
empty.
empty, go TK.
Oh, okay. Cool. I agree with you. Just it was a phenomenal.
Said head empty.
It was a phenomenal, just over half hour. And it's phenomenal that they did that. It's the right decision to make. Some of your stories should be an hour and 5 minutes. Some of them should be 35. That's okay. In the end, as long as you tell the complete story that you wanted to, perfect. I love everybody involved in this. Ahsoka, lovely. No notes.
So
Talir.
says Talir. We all agree.
Hang on, Claire.
Drag queens.
No, Kevo.
He said his head was empty.
Oh,
No
I
one
didn't
lets
know-
us say.
I thought your head filled. Drag queens.
With what?
So, I want to say
Get
that
out.
I came down really hard on BMX bitches for being bad, and I just want to say that we rewatched it, and it's silly, but Kevo actually pointed out that it has a lot in common with UK Hun.
Mm-hmm.
And with that in mind, you know what? BMX Bitches is going to be one of those things where, like, in 3 weeks, I'm going to pick this kid up from the train and I'm going to be like, do you remember
Beep,
that
beep,
time?
beep, beep,
Yeah, do you remember that time they did the bike song? Beep, 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 and you're going to do the dance in the car?
Beep, 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 beep.
Yeah.
Oh,
So-
Beep, 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 beep. BMX. I wanted to say babies, but it's not babies.
No, but what I want to say was unfucking forgivable was Bumpa Love's dog piss impressions. No.
it was a lot. It was a lot.
I need to know what our friends in the oceanic region think needs to go on in a talent show. That this is like the third, the 2 times that they've done this. It's been this weird mess where, like, one person actually does well. Like,
it is as though they've never heard of a talent show in Australia, and one drag queen each season is like, my American friend told me what a talent show is, so I have a leg up on everybody else, but the rest of them literally just don't know what to do there, because they are all talented. Like, I'm not saying
they're not untalented. They have plenty of talents, and I don't understand this weird like thinking outside the box. They're like trying to play 4D chess, and it's no, just play checkers.
It's ball in a cup.
Yeah, and
Well,
like,
the ball's on a string and attached to the cup.
the top 3 and the top 4 in this season are a 10 incredible run of queens. Look, do I think every queen in the American seasons is a fucking winner? No. Every season of the American, RuPaul Drag Race absolutely has your Mounds bar in a world of Milky Ways, right? But at the end of the day, I think personally, I've only watched a few international seasons, but I think Down Under has been a really terrific watch. And this was not a performance worthy of anybody. Hollywood Stars mix was bad. Hollywood, girl, ask anybody in this chat. I will mix your voice in better. I will brighten you up. You will sound like you deserve. But for me, the most impressive part of the episode was Floor being open about the loss of her mother, which also was basically more dramatic than the plot of Lorenzo's Oil.
I want to go back to Hollywood Star for 1 second, though, because I felt that she is the one person who understood the assignment. I don't think Isis really did. Hollywood Star gave what would have been, at minimum, a safe performance in a U.S. Drag Race talent show. Depending on the season and who she was competing against, it might have even been closer to the top. Did she make a mistake by not using her voice more? Yes. Was the song mixed badly? Yes, but that sometimes is not the fault of the track that the girl brings in. It's the fault of the studio on stage or how it's mixed in editing when the show is done. We've seen that happen to US girls, so I always give a little bit of forgiveness there. But Hollywood showed up with a song and a dance and showed her talent, and that is all it takes to go through this and I think succeed. I cannot believe she wasn't named the winner. I thought that Isis's performance was lovely. Great song. I love that she did the part at the beginning, but I just didn't see it as a winning performance.
So for Hollywood, I didn't really appreciate the comment when RuPaul Charles said that it's kind of samey. We kind of seen it.
Yeah.
That's what a lot of drag queens do. That's a lot of their numbers is they make a mix.
Truly, then how did Aquaria win?
Well, how did anybody in season 15
How
place?
did so many of these all-star winners in those talent shows win?
Right.
I don't know if I really appreciate that comment because that's the bread and butter a lot of drag queens do.
That's what everybody does.
Singling her out very strangely.
I
hate that.
I don't know if it was a very fair critique. You can say whatever you want about the vulnerability comment.
Yeah.
That's neither here nor that's up to the edit, blah 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 blah, whatever.
Yeah.
We don't care about that comment. That comment I took a little umbrage with because I
totally agree, Jonah.
Not fair. But I also appreciated what Isis was going for, and I thought it was a very beautiful piece. It's one of those things of I look back at the season 12 one-woman show, and essentially it's the same thing as the talent show, kind of. And I look at what won and what I thought should have won. And I think Jackie Cox should have won because I look at, if I'm going to go to a one-woman show, that's a one-woman show I want to see. And I no shade to Crystal. I very much enjoyed the performance, but it's not, I'm like, was that really a one-woman show or was this like a really fun like improv night? Like, I don't know if I saw that, I'd be going to everybody be like, you have to go see this. I feel like I would after Jackie's. For this, I think, funny enough, I leaned a little bit more in the opposite direction. I kind of did enjoy Isis's performance a little bit more, but if I really want to go see something, like I want to go out and see it, I'm probably going to go see Hollywood Star. So it's one of those things where I think it was a little bit more storyline reasons. They wanted
Yeah.
to even out wins.
Yeah.
Truly talking about production here. Let's open that green curtain. Let's look behind the production. See the wizard. The wizard is real. Wizard is not real.
The wizard is Michelle Visage,
Yes.
It's cardboard, Rue.
who literally
It's a
admitted
set.
on air bravely that the only thing she can eat is regrets and celery.
Yes.
I'm not going to say anything about that, but anyway. Sorry, Jonah, go.
Production, I think at this point kind of knows who they want in their top finale.
Yes.
And that I pretty much will think we will see both Hollywood and Isis there.
Yeah.
I think between
Then is it Gabriella Labucci or Floor? That's
who
Well,
I think is up in the air.
I
Yeah.
really need to ask you a question that only you of the three of us can answer honestly and emotionally and with what it means to be treated as Frank Grillo, American auteur, once said, as the last safe race to treat racistly in America. This episode, Gabriella Labucci really went to some deep I can't even get through this. Went to some deep, honest places about what it means to be Italian.
About
in
her
America.
treatment of the Italian people.
And you are one pepperoni away from a Mario brother. And so I want to keep making it worse. So as a 40% owner in the Olive Garden, I want to know how you felt about her coming clean, about her faking being Italian in an episode where RuPaul came dressed like a Goomba from the original Super Mario Brothers movie.
Oh yeah, the shoulders. It was wild. Ugh, I love Olive Garden.
I am so sorry, Italian Embassy.
I
Line 1.
fully just thought that the story was a little bit was decently funny. I feel like Gabriella Labucci smoking this weed, and it's like this the stupid. Think the John Mulaney quote of "the things crazy people say doesn't mean anything to them, but means everything to me" has never rung true more in the sentiment of that story.
I googled it. It wasn't
It
anything.
wasn't anything. But speaking of Gabriella Labucci, she's this queen that I think has a lot going for her. I think she's very funny. I think she has a lot of these positive qualities. I think she has this charisma. She's the kooky queen. Everybody loves the kooky queen. But I feel like Reese gave her the best piece of advice of what you're doing is just one note. Think about the joke. And he also kind of talked about this with Bumpa. Think about the brevity of the joke. Comedy is brevity plus, absurdity. Whatever you want it to be. Comedy has multiple definitions, but things are a lot funnier the simpler and shorter they are. And again, this I think back to season 1 of Down Under, where Karen from Finest made one balloon animal. Art Simone ate cake.
No. Art Simone did something we haven't seen done outside of JR and JC. Art Simone came back from the dead for no fucking reason except to move the plot along. That's JR on Dallas and JC from the Bible.
That was not a talent show move, though.
No, I'm specifically talking about the talent show.
I get what you're saying,
Wasn't it?
Jonah.
I was talking about Jesus, my bad.
When Gabriella Labucci came in with the "It smells like fart in here" line, I automatically was put off. Do not like fart humor. I thought that was a really weird
You and
line.
Michelle both.
Yeah. Thought that was a really weird, off-putting line to come in on. But, to each their own. I do think she's really talented. And then I was like, if she does this during the reading challenge, I may never be able to fall in love with her. She did another fart joke immediately in the reading challenge, and it wasn't funny at all. She was like, this girl just farts all over the place. And I just sort of at that moment felt like there is something that I will never be able to get past with Gabriella. And I saw that same thing in the talent show where I think she is gorgeous and amazing at the things that she does really well.
Like being
But-
a ketchup bottle.
There was that too. I was going to get to that in a second. But there is something about her that
Boot.
just doesn't work for me personally, that I'm just not connecting with.
Agreed completely. She is like literally the definition of fourth place for me. I've never seen anybody who wears Roxy Andrews as a badge quite so readily.
I do love her confession outfit though. I really want that sweatshirt.
Yeah.
Well, because you look good in chunky sweatshirts.
And a chunky sweatshirt. I also want to say this is for one day on Give It To Me Straight. Irene Dubois talked about part of the show. She was like, she kind of understood everything. She wasn't saying part of the thing that they do with the edit is something that isn't, they want you to think it's not actually funny, is they'll cut in the middle of it and they'll break it up.
Yeah.
And we saw that happen here. I'm not saying that everybody was actually pissing laughing at Gabrielle Labucci's segment, but I imagine it's very similar to the idea of changing the background music, doing the hurdy-dirty music, and then cutting in someone's confessional saying it's not funny. You're breaking it up, and it does ruin your kind of immersion in it. Now, granted, when we first watched season 15, you can all attest that I was crying my eyes out and laughing at very hard at Irene's water bit.
He literally thought she should be in the top 3.
Yeah.
At the time.
I thought it was the most absurd hysterical thing in the entire world.
Yep.
And she also
I don't really understand how you can love Willow Pill's
absurdity
and not think that Irene did something at
because
least...
we root for anything in miniature.
I mean, it does kind of feel like RuPaul was like, no, I want the dollhouse.
Please, don't hit anything. Don't hit anything.
Keep going.
But so what I think would have at least made her talent show a little bit better is actually doing something cool with the hula hoops.
Yeah.
You've stated twice, I studied and have done hula hooping for 10 years. And then you didn't do anything actually with the hula hoops.
I was confused by the end if she actually had or if she had not.
If she just kept it.
I got the impression that she has no experience with hula hoops besides what like any kid would have. But again, don't show up to this show without a talent.
Okay, but you don't need to be Pennywise to have experience with sewer grates. Like,
no, but like if you're gonna get on stage and do a hula hoop for a talent show, you've got to be able to at least like whip it onto your arm and then whip it back down, and that like you have to practice that. Like you have to develop that. It seemed like she was saying she has not.
Okay, wait. So you don't need to be funny like Bob the drag queen, but you need to be as funny as Bobcat Goldthwait. Got it.
I mean, they technically both worked on their humor.
And the thing about Bumpa's bit.
Oh my god!
I'm calling this a bit, and I feel Bumpa. I think you're a great queen.
What else can you call it? You know,
a bit, a skit, if you will, not a sketch. It's a skit. I
thought it was pronounced scat.
No, we don't do that in this household. It was. Again, one of those things that I thought was A, very weird, but B, what made it so fascinating was to see RuPaul give 0 Fs the entire time throughout it.
Now, what would you like? Piss. What would you be like? Piss for me.
No, when RuPaul literally said, no, piss, it was the most clear moment of RuPaul saying, I am the puppet master. Pull your strings and dance for me.
Yeah.
Do a little dance for me right now.
Yeah.
And I look at this, I'm like, RuPaul would never act like this on a US season. RuPaul doesn't act like this on UK. And then I also thought about no one on either of those seasons would do a, unfortunately, very dumb thing like this.
Yep.
No one would think, hey, I'll make jokes. It also just felt weirdly this is what I think they would be like pissing as a dog. Does not make any sense.
Yep.
You know, there's a thing where you can push somebody to some creative elements, right? Like when you think about what made Miley Cyrus successful in Wrecking Ball was the fact that she was confrontational of her sexuality while still being vulnerable. What made her specifically unsuccessful with Can't Be Tamed is there was no vulnerability. When you think about absurdist humor and what makes absurdist humor, oftentimes like somebody like a Jinx Monsoon, what makes it work is the humanity of understanding that Judy Garland, even in those dark moments, was trying to be entertaining. I was trying to find a nice way to say pills. But the balance there is Bumpa didn't do anything humanizing. She actually treated her people like animals. She dehumanized them. And that's what she missed. And I think that's why Rue was like, if you dehumanize yourself, I'll think you're charming.
She dehumanized the girls and the dogs. Like, there was nothing redeeming about it. This is what dogs pee like?
Though,
What
did she
was
predict the next
funny?
episode, considering that it's a makeover challenge with dogs?
I know, right? That was
she knew
so
something.
weird.
Always
She
amuses
knew-
me.
Fucking stop. Haunted mask, falling apart levels of face crack.
Yep.
So they say, Hollywood star, how old are you? And Hollywood star goes,
No. Hollywood
28.
says, what are you talking about when you tell me you want more from me? After they have told her 2 or 3 times what they're saying, which is that you are so guarded.
Well,
Yeah,
and that came after she was told you are safe. She
Yep.
stopped, grabbed the spotlight
Yep.
to say,
No, yeah.
what is it you're looking for from me?
Yep.
And they said the same thing we keep telling you over and over again.
To which
All of this context.
TK will get this reference. You guys won't yet. You're going
fuck
off
you
script,
too.
darling.
Yes.
Well, so then Hollywood star, however it
And-
comes out, is like, I'm
And
28.
Rue is like, how old are you?
Oh,
Right. She's like, you
Hollywood.
learn this when you get older. How old are you? And Hollywood star.
says 28, and then RuPaul goes on the same diatribe that Gwen Stefani went on when they released Return of Saturn. And
Literally.
she says she's 28 years old, right? So then the preview for next episode has RuPaul say, Hollywood star, last week you told me that you were 28 years old, but your paperwork says you're 34. God damn.
I mean, this has the potential to be one of the greatest moments in Drag Race history, regardless of how the rest of this season plays out.
Or it could be nothing. It could
or-
just be water under the bridge and could be a joke about her papers because next week is dogs.
Or it could be absolutely nothing. You are right.
Or she could be sent home. I don't know.
I have
Bumpa's coming
really
back.
high hopes. But yeah, this season is just so weird because I really do love these queens.
Truly.
I
mean,
s-
no one is Queen or Spanky Jackson, so I'm not getting too excited
your
just
Spanky
yet.
Jackson shout out for the episode. But I
hi
do.
Spanky.
Hi, Spanky. I do agree, though. Season 2, you look at all 3 seasons so far, and I think season 2 was going on the right track of understanding, casting a good group of queens, how to make interesting storylines, honestly, mostly in thanks to Minnie Cooper being one of the funniest antagonists in the entire world. But like, it felt like there was this cast of queens of like, okay, I can root for them. They seem like they're interesting. They're gelling in a way that there's enough friction that it's interesting, but you have people who have a lot of heart, like Spanky, bringing in these kind of like older, wiser perspectives that are really enjoyable. So it's like season 2 felt like, okay, I think we hit our stride of like understanding what we need to do here. And then I don't know what happened with season 3. It kind of felt like season 3, I kind of understood what was happening, and then it went all out the window, and now RuPaul, it truly feels like RuPaul does not care.
Yeah, which might be good. Maybe RuPaul cares a little too much sometimes. A lot of this does feel like it's about Ru and the show, in the same way that season 7 really felt like these girls are so talented, but something is not right between production and the girls. And some of it is the girls' fault, let's be honest. Like, they were not prepared for Shakespeare, and that is part, but that also is a bad concept. So like, everybody's kind of failing here. This really feels like I don't understand how none of you were prepared for the talent show. And like, really were not prepared at all. You know, that Bumpa was like, I do stand-up comedy. I do this every week. I know exactly what I'm doing. Oh, okay. Can you give us a little? No, I'm not going to do that. And then she gets on stage, still has nothing, gets advice, still has nothing.
Also, I'm going to say this once. I will say it again. If you were cast on Drag Race and you want for your talent show to do stand-up, do not do it. Stand-up goes with stand-up.
Yep.
It is very weird to randomly have stand-up in the middle of something. Yep. Nobody's going to be prepared to laugh at stand-up if there's not other stand-up.
Especially when so often the stand-up is like, you know what's funnier than having HIV? Like, it's always like questionable at best.
Okay, but that
no one's discouraging you from
positive started with, you know what the worst part about having HIV is? It would be kind of funny.
It actually would be a great joke, yeah.
It's very similar. Again, going back to season 12, one woman show. Jada's story about pissing herself, how it kind of was unfunny, but a story about pissing yourself should kind of be funny. Bob came up with two very good ways of how to make that funny, being like, does anybody here piss themselves? Like, that's funny. Like, starting off with something stupid like that. Like, there are ways you can make certain things funny. But yeah, do not do stand-up. This is my plea to everybody. Do not do stand-up. Unless you are Bianca Del Rio talented, do not do stand-up.
Anybody can bring a track in, lip sync to it, and dance. You will probably be safe. Message Nico. You can find him at Nico Action on Twitter, Instagram, Blue Sky. He will arrange an amazing song for you that you can lip sync and do a little, two-step choreography. And at least you'll be prepared with something.
This is my arrangement of Catwalk.
Or... Oh, I was thinking if I was ever to go on this show in the fantasy world where I'm a drag queen and I do this show, I would not only teach myself how to juggle, I would teach myself how to juggle and solve Rubik's Cubes at the same time.
Perfect.
Okay,
done.
I can juggle 5 balls, but I cannot solve a Rubik's Cube to save my life. But
all right, if you add a sex joke into this, I'm going to slap you.
Oh, no, I was going to say, you guys can check out things like solvemyrubik'scube.com if you want to look impressive and solve a Rubik's Cube and leave it on your dresser.
He likes to take the stickers off and then put them back on.
That's the best way.
All right, listen. We have the top 4 and then top 3 of Project Runway next week. We got the top 3 of this next week. We have Only Murders in the Building, which we're inviting to the party. I'm so excited. One of my favorite shows that is so clearly deaf and ASL inclusive. What a beautiful thing to get to say about a show you love. But I think we're fucking wrapping this mother up. So, Kevo, Jonah, TK, even me. Hey, Nico, what's up? I want to wrap up Drag Race. Here's my final take. Give it to Floor. Just give it to Floor. These 4 final queens are just so matched equally. They're just so beautifully talented, all of them. I guess I said 3 because I don't necessarily feel the same way about Gabriella Labucci that I feel about the other 3, but I think she's a beautiful 4th. I don't think she should not be on a national stage, period. But the top 3 are so talented for me. Give it to any of them, but Floor, her story is like an actual manga origin, so just give it to her.
The way I see it, the way I usually like to see production shake out, currently, as of right now, Floor does not have a win. Mm-hmm. Most likely next week, Floor will either win next week,
or go home,
securing her spot, or she will be in the top because I think production likes her.
Okay.
Now, I believe my guess would either be Floor or Isis wins next week with Gabriella versus Hollywood Star going home, with Gabriella going home versus Hollywood Star, or Floor and Hollywood making to the top, and Isis and Gabriella lip syncing, but I don't think they want to risk Isis in a lip sync. They have been burned a few too many times by thinking, oh, I think we could put this kind of front runner in the bottom and they would be okay. And then they getting demolished, and I worry a little bit.
Here's the thing, though. Isis just did a number that shows that she could possibly be named the winner of a lip sync.
That is very true.
Doesn't she just look like she smells like patchouli?
Yes, that's correct.
Yes.
I just like that entrance look so much. She just
I don't shower. I just use body oil.
Yeah.
She's definitely in my top 3, but she definitely looks like everything she owns smells like sandalwood.
But
I agree.
That's how you'll normally see these situations shake out.
Yep.
Especially with
you nailed
Floor
it.
going talking about her personal story and being very open and brave of talking about that.
Yep.
Production loves to reward you when you do stuff like that.
Yep.
Kev, or TK.
Oh no, I like to give it to Kevo first. He's just hanging out at the bottom, and then Kevo. Oh, Jojo, sign off.
Thank you for joining us. You can follow me over on any socials at Peak Jonah. That's
Peak.
That's Peak. Kind of like the peak of a mountain.
EAK.
Or kind of like
Close but no cigar.
Close but no see. God,
Close but no zig.
what a nightmare that was to watch. Kevin, tell me, your queen to win or your queen to go home next week, and then where we can find you until then.
Well, my pick to win is probably the same as you. It's probably Floor. Mostly because I would have said it's Floor versus Hollywood Star, but look at this.
They called her ugly
here.
inside.
Look at this age listed here, 28. It's been listed as 28 all season. Can she be a contender for the final? I don't know, but I don't know. Where can you find me? Where's the dumb thing? Here we go. Cavalry.
Chiron.
The Chiron, the pop-up, the graphics. I'm such a professional.
First off, I want to say when RuPaul came into the workroom in that shoulder look, I had an immediate flashback to the last time I saw it on Kanye West and Lil Pump in the I Like It video. So, Ru, way to emulate some fashion icons there.
She do.
Great stuff. I really don't. I think my winner's Hollywood Star. I think, she has shown herself to be the one. I feel like she's the one who I'm like, go to America and meet the girls there that get better production, because you could go toe to toe with them. I see her on a Versus the World. I see her on a later all winner season if she were to win this. I think she's still very obviously at the start of growing a really big talent. And that's the one thing is I feel like, except for Bumpa, who's just having such a hard time on the show, so many of the girls are crazy talented, but maybe just starting to figure out what that means.
Menopause is hard on many older women.
Truly.
And them hot flashes.
It's rough stuff. But I love Hollywood. I'm really rooting for her. I think she's really awesome. And if you want to talk to me about that or One Piece or Ahsoka, or anything else we discussed today, you can find me at TK Elemental.
I forgot to mention my pick to win is Isis. Personally, I see Isis winning.
Yeah,
I like that.
I could see her in the top 3. I mean, that is my top 3.
Yeah.
So, and as for me, you can check me out at Nico Action. That's NICOACTION. If you like the music you've heard, check me out on SoundCloud. Reach out. Let's do a collabo. Let's have a great time. Hey, we kept this one under 3 hours. I feel like a king. All right,
Can you believe
sign
it?
off.
Have we done one over 3 hours yet?
We've
Yes.
done 5.
Close.
Yeah.
So,
We've not
we're
done
close
5
to
hours.
no
Shut
cigar.
up.
No, we've done 5 over
5
3
shows
hours.
that go over 3 hours.
Oh, I don't believe you.
You should. So, anyway, I am
this up.
Nico Action, NICOACTION. The show is X is for show at XISFOR show. And we will be back
Thanks
Wednesday.
for show.
Don't forget to like and subscribe.
Smash that like button.
Be like
Smash
Talir.
that like button, hit the notification bell.
Be like Talir. Don't just like and subscribe, but comment. Let us know what
Come
you
hang
think.
out.
Tell us what we should be talking about, what you guys think about what we're talking about, and
Be our
guys-
puppet masters.
we are puppet masters, and we're puppets, right?
No. I said be our puppet masters.
Oh, both. Excellent. Anyway, so until we show up and have Alicia Masters as kids, there are only 3 things you guys got to do. you got to, number one, you got to stay safe. That is the most important thing to us. Number two, you got to be brave. And number three, you got to evolve daily. If you can do those three things, we can't wait to see you guys Wednesday. Otherwise, I do believe the giant solar flare will devour the planet. And until then, we'll see ya.
Get some suntan lotion.